tó bá ní lásìkò mọ́ lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn á fi iṣẹ́ yẹn á fi pè owó jáde.
God has given her a kind of knowledge that is beyond human understanding. Then that you cannot make use of hand to write and painting, but you can use her leg to paint very well. And by the time she has finished the painting, people just be looking at her that you see the one that has done it. Even majority normally argue, especially the visitor, that they don't normally believe that she's the one until when she started doing it in their presence. That's the time they go to do. And people that used to come here, they normally appreciate her by try as much as possible to buy some of her painting.
If you look at so many of my paintings, it's based on nature. Why I say so is that, God is the greatest artist, and everything he did is perfect. And if you look at the sky day by day, you think there's so many beauty.
But just how did Toma discover this giftedness of hers?
Actually, it was a friend of mine that bring out the gift in me. She saw me feeding the children with my leg. So she said, we can do something better than feeding the children with my leg. So she was the one that God used for me.
With the help of an assistant assembling her painting tools, Toma demonstrates her painting skills while sharing the emotions and relief painting brings to her.
Sometimes I don't believe that I was the one that did it. It's a little bit difficult for me to believe that the works are done by me. My own painting gets me an assurance that I can still give back to society. Why I say so is that, when I was still much younger, I thought I'm not useful. Let me use it, because I could not use the art and every other thing. So I was just thinking that, how are you going to do this?
Toma shares her challenges, not focusing on it as a stumbling block, but she sets the tone on the positive as she reveals the hurdles of her life's journey.
According to a proverb that said, no pain, no gain about life. Life is full of challenges, and the more we live, the more we see them around. Talking about the challenges, the first time in school, I will never forget it. At the first time in school, I went to Akoka Junior High School, or junior school. But the first time I went to that school, when I went to go meet the principal, that I went with some of the staff here, and when we got there, the principal does not know that I understand Yoruba. He said something that, why do they bring someone like her to school? And that she's not supposed to be in school. All she needs is just for you to put her somewhere to be eating until God says. I have to say something that, sir, may the good Lord have mercy on you. He was shocked. He could not believe that I heard what he said. I just thank God for the owner of the challenges, because he owns the key to every challenge. And he makes a way when there seems to be no way. I give glory to God, because if not for him, I don't know what could have happened to me. So many challenges. And, there's this thing that keeps me going that said, if there's no challenges, there will not be testimony. I faced a lot.
In spite of Toma's visible challenges, Toma has a positive outlook towards life and the people she comes in contact with. Her caregiver and one of her teachers reveal the other aspects of Toma.
Toma jẹ́ ọmọ kan tó jẹ́ pé kọ̀ra mọ́yàn, ó dẹ̀ kó gbogbo ìyànjú, kò kọ́ra, ó ń bọ́mọdé ṣe, ó ń bá gbà ṣe, gbogbo àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ gan, ó ní ibi kọ̀ọ̀kan tó ti máa ń dùn wọn nú. Ó jẹ́ pé èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé bó ṣe wà yẹn kò mọ bó ṣe hide feelings ẹ̀ tí nǹkan bá ti ń dùn bá ó máa sọ ń pé alágbádá bá ó dẹ̀ ṣẹ̀ mí o, ó dẹ̀ ti tán nínú ẹ̀, kò mọ bó ṣe ń báyàn yànjú. Ó jẹ́ ọmọ alálùbáríkà, mo gbàdúrà kó lọ bá mi pèsè ọkọ alálùbáríkà fún ọlọ iṣẹ́ kó má di ṣẹ̀mọ̀ lọ́wọ́.
She's the type that wants just to move closer because of her behavior, attitude, character. characters, and the kind of love that she used to show to people. The way God has created her, we thank God because He's unquestionable God. I just thank God for her life because, despite the fact that her disability, she can prove to the whole world that she can still do certain things as far as her condition is being concerned. She loves everybody because I recollect that yearly, as a staff of this school, especially women, I don't know, maybe it's doing it with the women too. She used to present us a gift as men in this school, no matter how token it is.
She tells me the place of God in her life, making her achieve more than she can imagine.
God is my strength. You know, God is a wonderful God that despite what you're going through, He will surely find a way to make you smile. He will surely find. Though the world may tell you that you are not this, you are not that. But as long as you have this God, He will surely find a way to make you happy. My strength is from God. My joy is from God. Everything is from God. Despite everything that you're going through, everybody goes through a lot in this country, Nigeria. All you just need to tell yourself is that I can make it. I can do it. And just keep on smiling. By the time God works, you won't know. You will just be asking yourself, is it me? Am I wrong? Just put your trust in God and try to do the little things that you know how to do. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God, especially if you give up on yourself, people will give up on you.
And what's more, this 28-year-old lady challenged once again the thought of entertaining self-pity.
I used to feel pity for myself, but not anymore, because God has given me the strength. God has shown me that despite my challenges, I can still go places. By giving me the opportunity to paint with my leg, by giving me the opportunity to show that there is ability in disability.
Well, not much is known about the condition data-wise, and so according to a 2018 article from The Guardian, there are more than 100,000 cases of cerebral palsy in Nigeria, with most affected individuals in need of care due to cerebral palsy effect on functional abilities. But more alarming is a recent data according to Benola Initiative, an initiative aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy in Nigeria. The condition affects 17 million persons worldwide and over 700,000 in Nigeria alone. Whereas that data claims a huge number of people live with cerebral palsy, what is more unnerving is that half that number may likely wallow in self-pity. Toma has proven to be an exception, full of life, deep in thoughts and full of cheers.
Wow!
Emotional, she recalls her journey to education and how having a degree remained her most joyful day.
Every day whenever I wake up, I always ask for something that God should give me joy. That's what all the challenges. The day that I finished my NC program, even before that day, I would just sit in the hostel, start screaming, start shouting, start singing. But on the day that I finished my NC, I was just like, are you sure that I finished? You finished? Are you sure that I finished? And when I was saying, oh, what to marry girl? I said, are you sure that it is Toma? She said it is you. So the day that I finished, I did my last paper. I said, do I have another paper? I was just asking myself, that do I have another paper? They said no. And since from the exam up to my hostel, I was just shouting. I can't believe it that it was me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
That was great.
High five.
Thank you. Oh, high five! Woo!
This is beautiful. Let me again. Thank you so very much for having us. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very
As the jostle for the highly coveted position, we examine the qualities of who would steer Nigeria's ship away from the ethnic, religious and political crisis it is faced with. And of course, the Third Force movement has adopted Labour Party for the 2023 elections. Well, this is Plus Politics. I am Mary Aniko. The primaries for the 2023 presidential elections are already here, and political parties are preparing to nominate their candidates. It is the time to examine the potential prospects of who we are looking at to mount the bid for presidency. The Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum has insisted that zoning and rotation of presidency of Nigeria are fundamental to the future existence of the country, and faulted what it called obvious schemes by two main political parties, which are the PDP and the APC, to zone its presidency to the north. Meanwhile, the Northern Elders Forum has faulted the clamor for major political parties in the country to zone their 2023 presidential tickets to the south, saying that it would result to damage that the north would not accept. Well, joining us to discuss this is Director of Publicity, Northern Elders Forum, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, and of course also joining us is the Acting Chairman of Bayelsa Elders Forum, Chief Thompson Okoroti. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
Doctor, let me start by taking you back to 2015. Just before the 2015 elections, while campaigns were ongoing, we heard more of people saying that, you know, the 2015 elections was going to be a game changer. It was going to be that election that would steer the ship of Nigeria in the right direction. We heard those kinds of rhetorics. But then here we are 7 years down the line. We don't necessarily know if we really can hold on to that assertion. And now we seem to be hearing the same kind of, you know, rhetoric that, oh, whoever we choose would decide the future of Nigeria based on the fact that we are experiencing all kinds of shaking, whether it be in the north, the south, I mean, literally everywhere, including the southeast. Can you really say that that statement that, you know, is being thrown around is something we can hold on to in picking a leader come 2023?
Is this my question?
Yes.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me to your program. 2015 was supposed to have been a watershed. It was, by all the indications on the ground, we supported President Buhari because we thought he was better than President Jonathan, or he was going to do better than President Jonathan, and that's why everybody was so excited. Literally, we thought he was going to represent regime change. And that's why we supported President Buhari. It turned out to be a watershed, but in the negative sense of the word. The country is a lot worse 7 years down the road. President Buhari has not delivered on any of his promises. In fact, on the contrary, we are worse off security-wise. There is more corruption in the land than we thought there would ever be under any president, not to talk of a president that came to power on the back of fighting corruption. The economy is in a mess, worse than it has ever been. And so, yes, we had hoped it was going to be watershed. It has turned out to be a terrible negative turn of events. Poor governance, misrule, insensitivity on the part of the president elected to be the savior of the nation, so to speak. This is one of the reasons why we have insisted that we should be very careful this time. If we made mistakes in 2015 in believing that an individual who comes forward with an image of a reformer was good enough to be our president, we should learn our lessons from President Buhari. We shouldn't make that mistake again this time.
So you're saying that we were looking more at, I mean, because you see, every time somebody is being picked, we look at the antecedents of a person. We look at, a trail of what the person has done, if he's been a trailblazer in whatever he or she has done. So are you telling us that we made a mistake judging President Buhari from his past, being that many had said that, his past, when he was the head of state, he was strict, and many put their trust in the fact that he would be able to fight corruption, being a no-nonsense person. But I want to ask you, what do you think changed? Was it the man who changed? Or was it us who thought that the man was capable of doing the job and he was not capable?
I think, I'll be honest here, I think we who supported him were the people who made the mistake rather than the person. He didn't change. It turned out that President Buhari had always just wanted to be president, and the governance was not his priority. There were difficult decisions to make. There was no time to make those decisions. He took all his time to make the wrong decisions, and he allowed the country to drift when he should have exercised a firm grip on the nation, govern with sensitivity, inclusiveness. Some level of empathy and literally lead rather than just simply delegate responsibility. So it turned out that many of us who supported him were wrong. He wasn't, and it turned out that he just wanted to be president. And as far as he was concerned, that was all. You talk about image. I think if you're looking for a nail to hang on the President Buhari mystique, and whether it was real or not, you have to hang it on the rocks that was created by the PDP from 1999. The PDP misgoverned this country and created the basis for which the people were desperate enough to trust someone like President Buhari, who, yes, in his first time of coming, was extremely unpopular. People said he took all the wrong decisions. He was hard, he was unyielding, he was insensitive. But they saw someone who wasn't corrupt. He hadn't exercised. He was a governor, he was a minister of petroleum resources, he was a general in the military. He didn't have 100 houses, he didn't have billions. And he was a man who was consistent. He said, give me Nigeria and I'll fight corruption. I'll rid it of corruption. Give me Nigeria, I'll fight insecurity. Give me Nigeria and I'll get our young people jobs. And contrast him with Jonathan, who then had the disadvantage of being in power. And he'd been in power since, I think, 2009. And he was doing very badly. So it was easy to choose Buhari against Jonathan. But you wouldn't know the mistake you make sometimes until the person you choose is actually in power, and then the true character of the person shows.
One would wonder if, we keep making this, like you said, mistakes by choice, because it looks like every time we have a new leader, we tend to say, oh, maybe the guy who we thought was bad would actually be better. I mean, we keep saying, people even go as far as the Obasanjo era to say, oh, during the Obasanjo's era, we were able to do this and that, as opposed to now. So now we're here in 2022, getting ready for 2023, and we've seen many people who have thrown their hats into the ring saying they want to lead this country, and most of which we already know where they're coming from. We've seen them lead in different capacities in this country. So I don't know if we should be talking about the persons or we should be talking about Nigerians, we the people, and the choices that we are supposed to make. So I'll pose a question to you, sir. What do you think that Nigeria needs at this point in time? Because the North is saying, well, we don't necessarily need zoning. The Southeast and the South-South is saying, we want zoning. It's our time. We should be able to, take the lead in this presidential race. But what do you think, as an elder statesman, the country needs to deal with the issues that we have on all fronts? Because I always say that if you were to put a compass and anywhere the compass pointed in Nigeria, you would see that we're facing all kinds of problems, whether it be ethnic, religious, terrorism, whatever it is. What do we need right now to deal with the issues that we have on our plate?
What we need is to learn from the past. It's vital that we learn what has happened to this country in the last 20 years, since 1999. And then find the kind of person who would provide solutions to some of those problems that have become manifest. The first one is we need a genuinely Nigerian president, not an ethnic president, not a regional president, not somebody defined by his faith, but a Nigerian president who would be elected by all Nigerians in a free and fair election, who would have a solid record of achievement and competence and experience behind him, and the kind of Nigerian who show the level of commitment and sensitivity to deal with issues of insecurity all the way from Borno to Oyo, and deal with the issue of the Southeast that is falling apart because of the activities of IPOB. We want a Nigerian president who would not polarize the country, but bring it together. We want a Nigerian president who will build bridges and command respect. We want a Nigerian president who will rebuild institutions, public service, the economy. We want a Nigerian who would be humble. We want a Nigerian who would not allow himself to be corrupt or allow corruption around. Literally, we need a president who is entirely different from a lot of the people that we had in power since 1999. And now they come from everywhere. Everywhere you go, that you can find someone who fits that bill, which is the reason why we make the case. Don't regionalize or localize the source of the presidency. Throw it open. Every Nigerian needs to feel that whoever becomes president is his or her person. When you create an ethnic toga around a president, the possibility that he or she might actually behave as if he represents a particular part of the country, those possibilities are real, and they are very dangerous. More than anything else, we don't want the future to become a hostage of the past. If we made mistakes in the past,
but then there are people. But doctor, there are people. Doctor, there are people who are saying. I'm sorry to talk over you. There are people who say that. Why didn't we think of this before now? Why is it that it's the time of the South that we're beginning to wax lyrical about the kind of person that we need to lead us and, Nigerianizing our presidents and instead of regionalizing them? And I don't know if we really do that. But then we also have the conversation or the debate about, federal character, whether it be written in the Constitution or not when it comes to zoning. That we're saying that, look, Nigeria might be very diverse, and for power to go round, so everybody has and this is not me saying it, I'm just saying this is what the arguments that are being made, so that everybody has a chance at it. Why?
Yeah, I understand.
Why was
you
this?
Ask,
yes. Why was this not considered in the first place?
When it's
yes.
the turn, our turn? When is the South? Where do you get the idea that it is the turn of the South? Is it written in the Constitution?
Well, I just mentioned that.
When people say, like you did now, you only talk about this when it's our turn. How does it become anybody's turn? It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Nigerian Constitution. There's nothing anywhere that says that a president must come from a particular part of the country. The Constitution is very clear. Parties would choose candidates. Voters will vote. And whoever gets the requirement to be president will be president. That's the fundamentals.
But has that been the modus operandi before now? Because political parties will tell you, especially the PDP, who came up with this idea of zoning, and that it was a gentleman's agreement, but many have followed it. Even though there are those who would argue that, you know, at some points with the Jonathan experience, there was a shift. But the argument is still that if it's not in the Constitution, how come it's being followed up until now?
Being followed by who? By PDP.
By
and it's being followed by default. Let me remind you that the only party that introduced and codified zoning between North and South is PDP. And PDP breached even that, its own rules, over and over and over again. I would like to remind you about the quarrels in 2014, 2015, which in a way created the basis upon which the APC became the ruling party. So this business of APC, where is the zoning now? Is it not the same PDP that through tickets is open? Should this country become slave to PDP's failures and limitations? PDP is only one party in this country. It's not the only party that determines what Nigerians do. Even PDP itself doesn't respect its own rules. So how is it possible that what PDP did or didn't do or subverted now has become a mantra for everybody? We are not, you see, people confuse two things. Nigeria is a diverse, complex country. It is a good thing that we should allow inclusiveness. That's what we should allow. Every community in this country needs to feel part of whatever becomes, whatever government is formed. So that is why the federal character provisions are there. Yet we single out one office, the president's office, and say, oh, it's ours. It's not. The law does not allow any president, no matter where he comes from, to run a government to the exclusion of others.
Okay.
So even the Buhari, you hear about this complaint that he's running a northern government. It's not true. I'm not a fan of President Buhari, but it's not true that he's running a government. There are ministers from all parts of this country. There are public officers from all parts of the country. The mistake we make is in thinking, unless we have a president from our own president. And the thing about it is that nobody is nobody's president. He's elected entirely by Nigerians. So even if he drops from the heavens, so long as he is the president, he doesn't belong to anybody, and he shouldn't belong to anybody.
Okay.
That is the important.
Okay, well, we're being joined now by the acting chairman of Bayelsa Elders Forum, Chief Thompson Okorite. Mr. Okorite, I don't know if you've been following the conversation, but let's talk about this issue of power shift. You've heard Dr. Baba Ahmed talking about the fact that we need a Nigerian president, and it doesn't matter where he comes from, that all that matters is someone who's able to lead the country in the right direction. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've been in the political terrain for about 45 years. And the zoning became entrenched right from Second Republic. And because of the enormity of the country, because of the number of ethnic groups, and because there is need for inclusiveness, and because even the Constitution says, at some point, the Grand Constitution of the Federal Republic, I can't remember the section now. If you had given me some notice before, I would have quoted it. That the federal government should do business in such a way that all parts of the country have been given a sense of belonging. That is silent zoning. How do you do it? So it has been brought north-south, and then in the two zones, you can now do micro zoning. That's how it has been. But some people say that we are developing and we should get to a point where we should go for consensus. But I do not think that that is the best for us now, because there could be a case where there are competing competencies. We are looking for the best person to rule this country. And capacity is involved, honesty is involved, a track record is involved. If you put all of this together, you might have some 3-4 people in one party that have the same qualifications. So where do you go from there? In NPN time, we had it very easy. He said, look, it's your turn. So you now go into your zone and produce the candidate from the party for the general elections. Now, right now, the major parties in the country, PDP and APC, are watching each other. They shift dates up and down. They want to know who is first to produce a candidate so that they can use that to set their own program. PDP is going for convention on Saturday, while APC's one is coming later. So whoever is produced by PDP will now, to a large extent, determine what APC will do. That's my reading of the situation.
But
So
it makes me wonder. I mean, because you've painted a clear picture of what you think the political parties are doing. But I want to ask, what do you think is at the core of this? Aside from the fact that these parties want to win, I'm sure that every political party out there wants to win. But then where does the average Nigerian come in? Because I want again to go back to what Mr. Kimbaba Ahmed said. Nigerians put their trust in President Buhari, and you talked about also, looking at the track record of a person. Nigerians judged President President Buhari from his track record. They hoped and trusted that he would be honest in fighting corruption, in putting an end to the terrorism that we're actually, faced with, and also to, give us employment, as he said, because he campaigned on these three things. But here we are in the 7th year of his, presidency. We really can't say that he's been able to do that for us. So again, we see a lot of these men who are saying they will do this, they will do that. Does track record alone help us to pick the people that we want to pick? Again, the average Nigerian is faced with all of these candidates and not necessarily knowing who he or she might pick, being that we're not involved in the picking. The delegates are the ones who pick these candidates for elections. So we're only at the mercy of whoever the party picks. But then it looks like a game of chess for these parties. Where does the average Nigerian come in, especially those who are asking for zoning?
Well, I agree with you that Buhari was elected on the basis of a track record, but that is not what it's turning out to be. The country is in a mess, and so that is why I did not call track record alone. I named 3 other standards. There's talked about competence. A leader for this country must be a competent manager of affairs. And then he should be honest and have fear of God or Allah, so that he can take this country to the best level, not next level. I therefore think that the combination of qualifications, because if you look at the Constitution, there are qualifications, there are also disqualifications. These things have to be properly positioned so that this time around we can get it right. The only thing that is not very clear now is what consensus would take us to. Will it produce the best person? I think it's another experiment that is coming. Even though at this age of our country, we are supposed to stop experimenting and go for ground rules that are constant. Like Clinton said the other day that he came to the country, he said Nigeria should build strong institutions, not strong men. And I share that view.
Interesting. I want to go back to Dr. Baba Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed, we see that lately the news has been, talking about delegates within parties, and we have seen lots of people have termed these delegates as, the guys who smile to the bank after each of these primaries. Again, how much hope do we have in these delegates to pick the people who are right for the position to be flag bearers of political parties, as opposed to who gives or who pays the most money?
I have a. I'm afraid I'm going to say something that I think Nigerians still haven't woken up to. I think that we don't realize that the nation and our entire destiny as a whole country has now become a victim of a particular class of politicians who know how to tweak us, who have created themselves into a ruling class. They just keep simply recycling themselves, recycling the system, exploiting its weaknesses, getting us to fight each other, and just simply replacing each other and playing a game with our lives, with our welfare, with our love for each other, and for the future of our children. Look, nothing really substantive has changed in this country. PDP has been in power from 1999 until 2015. APC took over. Now, if you look into APC, you are likely to find that about 60 or 70% of the people in APC were actually PDP people in the past. If you go back to PDP, if you go into PDP, you're likely to find a lot of APC people who have defected there. Basically, Nigerians are captive of two parties that recognize the fact that they can only retain power if, one, they create enemies out of all of us, by creating all this business that it's us, it's us, it's us. There is really nothing, absolutely no difference between the poor man in Oka and the poor man in Gombe. That is the honest truth. And yet they will tell you, if we have an Igbo president, then every problem that the Igbo have, I'm only using the Igbo as an example. This business of ours is pervasive everywhere, including Northerners. They will tell you a northern president is going to protect northern interests. Yeah. And we ask the question, which northern interest? Is it the bandits, the kidnappers, the insurgents that are going on? So you need to understand, and Nigerians need to understand, we have become captives of a game that is being played by the people who are in two camps, PDP and APC. And the issue that you raise here, the corruption involved in the way they run their parties, the delegate system, it's exactly the way they've been doing this since 1999. It's only getting the country worse. A handful of people, literally, a handful of people decide who becomes candidate. Then they line us up, fill us up with venomous propaganda, regionalism, about ethnicity, about faith, and then we go and vote for either of them. I'm praying one day before I die, I would see Nigeria where the masses, you and I, the ordinary people who have a lot to share, we're poor, we're insecure, we're desperate, our children are losing faith in this country, they're either leaving the country or they're living honest lives. I hope to God will wake up and realize that we've actually been victims of a game, of a ruling class, which is what they are. They are in PDP, they are in APC. And what is important is, why do we need to believe that the best Nigerian can only come from these two parties? They are just political parties. Why don't we look outside these two parties? There are other parties that are quite likely to field better candidates. There are not producing leaders through unless you spend billions and billions and billions, delegates and all these things. Anybody who spends 10 billion, 20 billion naira, anybody, and I say anybody, just to convince a handful of delegates to elect to give him or her a ticket, I'm telling you, that president is going to steal our Commonwealth.
Interesting.
He's not going to become our president. He's going to become a president for himself. So we need to break the stranglehold of these two parties around us. If we don't do that, all this business of it's our turn and you have to go through an old, antiquated and discredited system of delegates, that's why President Buhari refused to agree to indirect primaries. Okay. That's why they refused to tinker with the electoral process.
Okay, quickly, because we're almost out of time. Chief Okoroti, I'm coming to you now as we wrap up this conversation. How do we blur these lines that are dividing us? Because the average person will tell you that Nigeria is divided along ethnic and religious lines, and now politics has been introduced into it, and it's deepening the more. And just like the doctor has said, how do we do this within ourselves? Because he's painted a picture saying that the political parties are the problem. So if a handful of us understand this, how does that same handful help the larger majority to begin to look within and start looking at ways that we can better the lot of Nigeria? How do we go about that?
Well, I see my brother Adam wasting his saliva talking so much because many of the people he's talking to are deaf. They are very deaf. And I tell you that whichever way you look at it, if you say political parties are the problem, who are the people in the political parties? Are they not the same Nigerians? Now, those political parties that we castigate are a product of the society. Now, what I think that we need to look at properly is a reorganization of the political system. There are no solid parties. There are no ideologies. You cannot distinguish one from the other. They produce people that do not even know their own party constitution and the manifesto of their own party. So the political parties have to be properly reformed. Like the other day, I was asking the question, when they come with all these millions to buy forms, and the parties at that point are saying that you have not been paying dues, where is the system that allows a member of a party to pay its monthly dues? Whereas in the card, in the membership card, there's columns. There are 12 columns. You're supposed to be paying your fees. What I'm saying in short is that the parties need reorganization. And the religious and ethnic thing will not disappear in a hurry. It will not disappear in a hurry. But when we are able to produce a leader that loves the country, not loves the party, only the party comes from, and tries to provide a level playing ground. Because what is even bringing about in ethnicity is that somebody from somewhere, because he is president, everything must go to his side. That is what causes the problem. We need a leader that must provide a level playing ground, make sure that it's fair to all.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, time is not on our side. I want to say thank you to Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed. He is of the Northern Elders Forum. And of course, we have been speaking also with Chief Thompson Okoroti. He is of the Bayelsa Elders Forum. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be talking with Professor Pat Totomi as he talks to us about the third force and the merger with the Labour Party. Stay with us.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajitumobi.
Ahead of the 2023 presidential and general elections, the National Consultative Front, the umbrella body of the Third Force movement, has adopted the Labour Party as its party to align with for the elections. The decision was arrived at after 15 months of what the Third Force described as painstaking engagements with like-minded allied political parties, as well as political alternatives to the ruling All Progressive Congress APC and the People's Democratic Party PDP in the country. Well, joining us to discuss this is political economist Professor Pat Utomi. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us.
I'm glad to be able to join you.
Great. Let's talk about the Third Force. So lots of people keep hearing about the Third Force, and this is not the first time. We've heard of many other Third Forces, but this seems to be the Third Force that is now merging with the Labour Party. What actually makes this particular Third Force formidable as opposed to other people who have called themselves Third Forces, especially the NNPP?
Well, the business of having an alternative political party platform has been ongoing for some time. It's been ongoing because most Nigerians who are savvy recognize that both the PDP and APC are one and the same party. And that in 22 odd years, both parties have inflicted so much damage to the possibilities of the Nigerian dream that there was need to think alternative. But you see, people are very slow to adapting to a new way. People sometimes fear the unknown. But in the case of Nigerian politics, they are particularly wary of the fact that what is called structure tends to determine election outcomes. The fact that if you were the best candidate in the world and you did not have what they call structure, and what they call structure is really taking government money and using it to have people all around the country. In many parts of the world, the people who run APC and PDP would all be in jail because they're taking public resources and using them to oil a machine around the country. Well, Nigeria is not quick to jail those who should go to jail. So let's put that aside for now. So whenever quality candidates come out in parties that are not one of these two, people say, oh, they are great, would like to vote for them, but I'll waste my vote because they have no structure. So we began to think of how to provide structure outside of stealing government money and using it to spread around the country, because that's the only way that structure has been built in Nigerian politics as we know it today. So we then came to a conclusion that the way to do that is to find civil society movements, organizations that have spread across the country, people who are committed to them on ground. And we came to the conclusion that the most effective of that kind of social movement is the labor movement. And so we began to talk to the Nigeria Labour Congress, we began to talk to the TUC. We've had a series of meetings. I led a delegation 2 years ago to engage the Central Working Committee of the Nigeria Labour Congress. And we began to talk. And it was getting more and more comfortable. And so we got to a point where we have suggested a number of political parties that could be a vehicle. And some in the labor movement thought that they should make an effort to retrieve the Labour Party, as it were. Mm-hmm. And it would seem with the effort of the current leaders of the NLC and Barrister Femi Falana that was accomplished. And the NC Front, which was working with a variety of other political parties, then decided to move into the same house, if you will, with the Nigerian labor movement and the Labour Party without letting out from the big tent, which we have been building. And the big tent includes several other political parties. And we believe that more will get on this big tent, which is pitched on a moving train. As it gets to your station, you may join.
Okay.
We in fact try. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to, just quickly come in there. When you say that others will join, you see, as we speak right now, I'm sure that you would have gotten wind of this, that a presidential aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party has decamped, in fact, resigned from the PDP. And there have been people who have also been cautious as to who they support. Can you tell us if this third force will be wary of the people who have been in the recycled big political parties, or will you throw open your doors in a bid to try to move the front and continue to build momentum as you get forward to 2023?
We recognize that this is the big tent. It has a place for everybody, but how you play inside that big tent depends on your antecedents, depends on your values. The reason we are creating something different is not to have another PDP or another APC. We want something that is genuinely committed to service to the Nigerian people. We want something that recognizes that this narcissism, this self-love that makes the political class think more of itself and think more of democracy as a government of politicians for politicians by politicians, that it needs to give way to a new kind of politics of government of the people, for the people, by the people. We clearly said to ourselves that there are 3 P's that are important if Nigeria is going to go anywhere. And those P's are essentially the P of production. We're going to produce. The P of people. A P of power. We cannot produce because we don't have power. Nigeria is currently a major global disgrace as far as power is concerned. And the APC and PDP governments in 22 years have managed to do very little about power. And this is the challenge that we face in the country. So to put this in place, we are going to welcome good people who come, but we will welcome only those who we believe. We will welcome everybody, but we will only give the front row to people who we think will make a major difference.
How do you, I'm going to rephrase my question again. How do you guard against people who might be aggrieved from the major political parties, who some people would term as the money bags? It's a question I ask, the smaller or the other political parties. I'd rather not call them small. It's a question I ask the other political parties. How do you guard against these people hijacking your party and the good intentions that you say you have for Nigerians?
You will not be able to hijack. That we're guarded against that.
How are you guarding against it? Because, I mean, we see, for example, other parties where...
There are very clear criteria, leadership criteria that we have laid down. Very, very clear. And unless you meet those criteria, you will not come to the front row. You will be there, but you will be somewhere on the back seat. As you imbibe our culture, you may move to the front row, but coming in, you come into the back seat. Yeah.
Let's look at the capabilities of this third force to go anywhere in 2023. Again, just as you've said, Nigerians might be looking elsewhere for a leader that would be able to steer the ship in the right direction. But is the third force ready to be able to upstage both the APC and the PDP? I mean, we see what's happening now, the shifting of dates back and forth. We're still seeing a lot of disagreements here and there. What difference will you make? One. Secondly, how powerful and strong strategic will you be by 2023 to be able to win these elections that you are getting ready or gearing up for?
Our movement is committed to new ways. And amongst the disrupting strategies we are adopting is that we want to bring in new voters. We have part of this movement, the 40 million vote initiative. We're trying to ensure that we bring in new people who have never voted before, who have different kinds of commitment than those who go and sell their votes. This is why we are going to be a kind of a different thing, because our power will come from these new voters. And so we're going to be a direct an outright formidable whirlwind moving to blow these fellows out of the political arena.
Now, let's talk about the voters themselves.
But we also, by the way, have what we call the RPDP and RAPC. We founded already a group in the PDP and one in the APC, which we call the RPDP and RAPC, the righteous APC, righteous PDP. And members of that group will ultimately move into our parties in this big tent.
Okay. I want to talk about the voters quickly. Well, they're the most important in all of this. They're the ones whose votes you need. How will you be able to convince the average person? I like the fact that you said that you have the labor movement with you. We know what's happening with students now, and university students are at home. The government and ASU are still, at loggerheads. We're seeing a lot of things that are going wrong. That is all fair and great. But then we also have a voting public that needs a lot of convincing, especially, just as you mentioned, about structures, because people are mostly interested in the local elections, in their local governments, in their wards. How much representation will they be able to see in those areas that will be convincing enough to make these people want to cast their votes for you?
Yeah, this is precisely what we are trying to do. We try to get a number of social movements committed to developing new quality candidates to go into public life, such as OBS Equestrian Speaks Politics. Now, we are encouraging a bunch of bright, young, new people to run from all those levels, all the way to the local governments. And what we expect to do is to have a real disruption of politics in Nigeria by bringing in a broad group of smart, high values, and socially committed political actors. They will be new, they'll be fresh, they will not have been contaminated by the habits of the PDP and the APC. And so our country can begin afresh. Because that's what we need, to press a reset button and get Nigeria to begin afresh.
Can that really happen in 2023? Do you have enough time? Because the elections are really around the corner. Do you have enough time to do all that? Because that's the major concern.
In fact, we have too much time. In most parts of the world, the election season is less than 3 months. And we have nearly a whole year to elections. In the next week or two, we'll begin to bring these young people into special development programs. And as they go out there, sound different, focus on a key set of values, policy ideas that we have agreed to that will radically turn Nigeria's fortunes around. And let me give you a couple of those ideas. For example, one of the biggest challenges facing us is unemployment. I mean, our country is literally all these unrests everywhere. Unknown gunmen, known gunmen, Boko this. Most of these problems come because people are not engaged, people are angry, and people are letting out their anger on society. And so they are easy recruits to people who have all kinds of unsavory ideas. But we have an initiative, a plan, that within a week of our being inaugurated as president of this country from our team, we will announce an immediate recruitment of every unemployed graduate in this country.
Is that not a tad bit unrealistic, Professor?
Sorry?
Is that not a tad bit unrealistic? I mean, even the United States, as huge as it is,
cannot
necessarily.
People who don't learn in these countries, who don't listen. If you listen, you will learn.
I'm listening.
Okay? Listen. The world is in crisis from the environment. Okay? We are a major hook for redeeming the world as being in the forest belt. There are billions of dollars out there for people who have a strategy for doing this. Now, if we take all these unemployed people and form them into a green army, we can immediately access a couple of billion US dollars that's available right there. And these young people who get into this green army will, from 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. every day, green up the environment. Just go and do river remediation, do trees, do all of these things, and their payment will come from this money is coming from abroad. Between 12:30 and 4 p.m., they will go to school and develop real skills, different from their degrees in history and sociology and all of that. Within 1 year, they will be all skilled up. They would have grown a couple of million trees. And as we create new industrial parks, they move into those parks. So listen, you all should learn to listen. You've been talking to people who don't think for too long, that it makes it difficult for you to listen to people who think. Okay?
I'm most interested in, I mean, this is a very interesting idea, very bright, but I'm talking about the reality of recruiting these people. I'll tell you why. Already, government has so many people in its employ. Salaries in some states are still not being paid. People are being owed. Pensions are being owed. We're yet to deal with that. And then you intend to employ a billion.
You're talking about.
Sorry, Professor. Can I just ask this question so you can answer me? And yes. I'm talking about the fact that we're already in a crisis state. And then we're recruiting 1 billion, as you have said, or maybe more, young people. How many of these young people are even willing to do these jobs? Are you going to coerce them to join you in the Green Army? The reality on ground is that you have a great idea, but how workable is it?
It's completely workable. Have you heard of a man called Inácio Lula da Silva? He was president of Brazil, and he might be back as president of Brazil very soon. Inácio Lula da Silva changed the course of Brazil's history through a series of initiatives that have been referred to as the conditional cash transfer system. Now, this idea was kind of domesticated into the APC manifesto by myself. And this is what has been implemented in this trader money. But they've not done it the way that Da Silva implemented it in Brazil. And it has become a drain, become a political drain pipe. And we're saying that we take the same ideas on a matter that is bothering the entire planet, and they have money put aside. So the money comes. The young graduate that doesn't want to be part of a green army, cannot be a wise person, does not want to work. So we can leave him or her aside and take those who want to work and put them to work. And as they're working, they're learning. And within 1 year, because it's not their permanent life, within 1 year, they would have done a huge job on the environment. They will have learned a major skill, and they're onto a new kind of employment, not hired by government. Okay. And that's why it's important to listen to these ideas through. Okay. You know?
Okay. Well, Professor Otomi, unfortunately, our time is spent, but we will be following up on the third force and all your activities going forward.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Professor Pat Utomi is an economist We want to thank you very much again for being part of the conversation. And that's all we have on the show tonight. We want to say tomorrow is another day as we talk for development on Plus Politics. So keep it tight with us. I'm Mary Anacol. Good night.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
You see, the greatest robbery of this election, Marianne, is the fact that it has been, because of the misrule of President Muhammadu Buhari, it has become an ethnic issue rather than an economic issue, rather than an issue of saving our education sector, rather than the insecurity in the Northeast and in all parts of the North. Now everybody is more concerned about where the president comes from than what the president can do, because everybody has seen the marginalization, the ethnicentrism that has been at play under the APC.
There is a northern president that will be completing 8 years in 2023. And let me restate that the presidency is not of the party. The presidency is the president of the country. So whether it is APC or whether it is PDP or whether it is any other party, he is the president of Nigeria, not the president of the party. And for us, and I speak on behalf of Afeni Ferret, Ohaneze Indigo, Sandel, and the Middle Belt Forum, under the auspices of Southern and Middle Belt leaders. And I'm restating the position of that forum, that any political party in Nigeria, any of the major political parties, there are political parties that we know that are motion parties, any of the major political parties, particularly APC and PDP, that will not have our support. And it's a statement of fact.
Journalism in Nigeria is an all-commerce affair. Why is it an all-commerce affair? It's only in journalism where you see somebody who read an engineering course or maybe a medical course, practicing as either a broadcaster or a reporter, doing stories, somebody who probably read psychology in school, So there is the lack of, what should I say, standardization, So all of these things, pose a very serious challenge, in terms of staying on stories and following up on stories.
The Southeast governors, led by the governor of Ebonyi State, has to really sit down again to redefine what they established as the Eastern Security Network. The Ebubago Security Network.
Yes.
The Ebubago Security Network was meant to be a regional security outfit like Amoteco, but if we watch the way the different other 3 governors or 4 governors of the Southeast have been acting or behaving, it does appear that Ebubago has only been operating in Ebonyi. And that I won't talk about it, because what is even doing in Ebonyi, it is not going after the unknown government, it's only going after political opponents.
Okay, agreed, yes. PDP and APC, the 2 major parties, they have a zoning formula which they have been applying since the democratic dispensation came into play. But then, what we see playing out today is like a dysfunction of the entire system. All of a sudden, everybody is saying, oh, we don't believe
in zoning. We don't want to follow zoning anymore. So something is, definitely wrong in the structure of these two political parties. And this is where the Igbo leaders need to go to first and resolve issues. Why is it that they're now saying they don't want to do zoning? What is the problem? So you can't tell me that, we can blame Mr. President for everything, but we can't be blaming Mr. President when the political parties themselves are not doing the right thing.
I don't know about pushing it to the southeast, because obviously those in the south, in the southwest, under the platform of the APC do not have any obligation to the PDP. So I think it's only a natural thing for them to want to, insist that the president, if a president can emerge from the southwest, should emerge from the southwest. But I think what is now happening is that there are even insinuations that even EC that has zoned the presidency to the southwest is beginning to think twice about it. Perhaps they feel that there's a weakness in the south and that the south has not been able to come up with. They require consensus needed to put pressure on the north to give up on the issue of the presidency. But they will be making a terrible mistake if they think that after 8 years under the president, that the North can remain in power for another 8 years. That will be chaos, and that's why people are warning.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Waste, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayome Sale, and today I'm joined by the ladies. I mean, did we get a memo? We're all wearing black. I just noticed.
We love black.
I love black.
We love black on this table. Have you been?
Good.
You look so radiant.
How would they know? How would they know? Talking about black, I recently reshuffled my wardrobe, right? And I realized that, you know what? I think I have enough black that can sit perfectly on its own.
Yeah.
So I have sections of the wardrobe. One full wardrobe has all black. I think correct. So I'm always going towards that direction.
Anytime in doubt, just
go for it.
How are you, Norma? How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm just only disturbed by the
the traffic situation
In-
on Admiralty Lekki.
Yeah.
It's really troubling. In the morning when you go to drop kids, in the afternoon when you're going to do school runs, it is traumatic. I don't know what is causing that traffic, whether it's the Ikoyi Link Bridge or just how that roundabout is not functional for the traffic that is directed in that that goes in that direction on a daily.
It's not
And
just
I really
Admiralty.
think that something needs to be done about that.
Trust me, it's not just Admiralty, because we also get to encounter things like that on Lekki Expressway all the time. So it's kind of traumatic for one to even step
Why
out of
I'm
the
even
house
saying
these
this
days.
is an inner area. It's not like
Yeah.
the express that
Okay.
you know, okay, that there's bound to be. This is supposed to be a residential area,
Yeah.
but it continues to drive that. It's madness coming out in
No,
and
but
out.
you should
let
expect
alone
that from Admiralty. Admiralty is a commercial
I know
hub,
it's a commercial
right?
hub.
So it is very, very possible that, you know, you would encounter traffic at all
Yeah.
times. Again, at the end of, I think at the beginning of Admiralty Road,
Yeah.
from Freedom Way, I noticed that they're creating gutters there.
Okay.
I think they're constructing some drainages there.
Yeah.
So that they already blocked one part of the road. That side again, at that point there's a gridlock. Then I was driving on this people's Admiralty. You guys are dirty. You're dirty people.
Lagos
If you
generally.
see, no, Admiralty. Because I expect
Don't
more.
let them come for you.
No, let them come for me. I expect more from people living in that area. Do you see how? But it tells you why that place is always flooded when there's rain.
The
They
drainages
brought
are
out
blocked.
PET bottles all across the Admiralty Way, Admiralty Road, all through the, if you see the,
You know, they have a lot of batches, they have a lot of shops,
they have a lot of clubs, they have a lot of commercial, they have a lot of eateries and all of that.
Yeah.
So everything ends up in your gutters.
Those commercial people need to
be fined.
Absolutely, because if you are in that area and then these are the problems that you are contributing to why the situation is like that,
Yes.
and you need to take responsibility for it.
Well, would they be
All right,
willing
let's
to
move
do
on, Joe.
Do we have people that implement these?
They'll be all right. But I just feel like they should start flogging people. If I see anybody
just
throw any
flogging.
pet bottle out of the window, we slow
I
down.
think
Go and carry the
Nigerians
pet
are
bottle and throw it back
generally
inside the car.
Indisciplined.
Very
And
dirty.
if they're- well, you know, back in the days when
we
even
thrive
though I'm
in
dragging
indiscipline.
a little where we say war against indiscipline, there was
Yeah.
a time that you knew that it was, and I think media has to also come in this direction. The more we tell people the right things to do, then the more you put it in their subconscious. Every time they want to do that, they remember they saw something, and this is what it's costing. Then maybe they can have a
We have a
change of
long
heart.
quote today, so let me take my sample of this, because it's not your Admiralty matter that is our matter. It's aviation. We are discussing aviation fuel crisis, right? And here's what we found as today's quote. Today, commercial aviation faces a number of challenges: fuel cost, environmental impact, and energy security that sustainable jet fuel can help to address. Fuels that are derived from biomass may offset a portion of the carbon produced by the aircraft, as well as mitigate air quality issues such as emissions of sulfur and particulate matter. And domestic alternatives to petroleum jet fuel can expand and diversify the jet fuel supply and contribute to the price sustainability and supply security. Long and short story is that there are alternatives to the aviation. All right, so the scarcity of fuel in Nigeria negatively impacts sustainable economic development due to its crippling effect on energy dependent productive activities, jet fuel scarcity, and consequential flight disruptions and cancellation are sometimes a yearly occurrence in Nigeria. So today, Gbolahan Olojede is here to discuss the fuel crisis in Nigerian aviation sector. But first, we'll take a break to see what we found in the news. All right, you are still watching Ways Africa Day, formerly African Freedom Day and African Liberation Day, is the annual commemoration of the foundation of the Organizations of African Unity on the 25th of May 1963. It is celebrated in various countries on the African continent as well as around the world. The organizations was transformed into the African Union on the 9th of July in 2002 in Durban, South Africa, but the holiday continues to be celebrated on the 25th of May. So happy. You know, I saw one video on
Happy African Day.
And that's why you're African. Me say I'm African. You know, I saw one video on social media just before we got on air. The girl dressed like one goddess of Africa. As in, she took it seriously. There's no way that girl is supposed to win best dress because
was it for a function or just
no,
for a day?
always. You know, a lot of people are wearing African prints and all of that to their offices. I think Marianne just mentioned that she's
she has
going
an
event,
activity.
You know, she's going to an event, you know, for African Day and all of that. That girl, I said she dressed like a Yemoja, one goddess like this.
I think
she's Mama Africa.
The more we own our Afrocentrism, that is where we get to know who we are. I think the more we own up to the fact that we appreciate the fact that we are Africans, not forming Funeo, but the key thing is you know you're African, you believe in Africa, and you believe in the vision of Africa. Forget what we are going through in Nigeria as well. But the more we do this, the better we become as a people, and we understand the spirit of Africa.
Africa is a beautiful continent. We have so much to give. We have so much diversity, and there's a lot to embrace.
Totally.
But we just need to learn how to position ourselves to be able to project the best things about Africa.
Absolutely. So, talking about Africa, we'll continue to talk tomorrow because that will be our topic tomorrow. Let's hear some interesting things about Africa.
Yes.
All right. So, who will we starting with? Isi, what did you find for us in the news?
Okay. My story is a sad one, and it says boat carrying Cameroonians and Moroccans to Europe capsizes in Tunisian waters, and it says that the boat was carrying migrants from Cameroon and some other countries, which I trust my Nigerian brothers will be there. Typical Edo brothers will be there, from Libya to Europe, and this capsized in somewhere in the Tunisian coast, and this prompted an ongoing rescue operations on Wednesday, which is today. And after one body was recovered, dozens of others were reported missing. And currently they have about 75 people who are unaccounted for, and they have 30 people who have been rescued so far in southern
They must be really lucky.
Yes. So it's I think why I got the story is the fact that I know things are tough in Africa. I know people are going through a lot. The economy is not friendly, but if you have to travel, let's seek legit means to travel. We can't keep going through this time and time again.
The funny thing is that international or rather the Western world, some of them have actually made it really easy. You don't even have to have a degree. Some people, they're just looking for artisans, they're looking for things. So there is the right way to migrate, right?
Totally.
There's always the right way. I don't know why, for the life of me, I can't understand why people would go, to another man's country.
In such danger.
Even with the ones that even go with a visiting visa, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me.
There's a lot that people are struggling with, and any given opportunity that they see.
But that's not an opportunity because
for them it's that opportunity. So they'd rather than face what they're going through in their home country.
Your story.
Unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of sad news, but my news as well, it's not a pleasant one. It has to do with the shooting that took place yesterday in Texas that left 19 children dead and 2 teachers.
Wow.
19 children dead. So the story has it that 19 children and 2 teachers have been killed in the school shooting in Texas. And it was the shooter barricaded himself in a single classroom, and it happened in Robin Elementary School in Uvalde around 80 miles west of San Antonio. So these kids between the ages of 7 and 10 lost their lives, and it's so tragic. Even the teachers that died in the process of this attack. It just continues to tell concerning the gun violence situation in America. I know that the Pope spoke up about it. He mourned with the families, and he continued to talk about the gun. But I think Joe Biden also made a statement as well towards it. Joe Biden continues to call on U.S. to stand up for gun lobby and tighten restrictions. But this is something that has happened time and time again. And I'm wondering, at what point will Americans say enough is enough? We have lost too many of our citizens to this. Is it really worth it?
I think I saw a documentary on the gun laws, and I discovered that there is a serious business behind it. So
it's a racket.
It's not just about
huge market.
It's not just about the gun laws in America. It's all over the world currently. So it will take a lot for us to actually stabilize the system in terms of gun laws.
Very sad. All right, so my story is linked to the presidency 2023. The biggest story right now that broke this evening was Peter Obi's letter saying that he had resigned from PDP and he's withdrawn from the PDP primaries that is coming up, so he's resigned. I mean, Peter Obi is one candidate that everybody was looking out for and hoping. A lot of Nigerians were really hoping for him to win the presidential, ticket for the PDP. So now that he's withdrawn, another story says that he's moved on to Labour Party. We're not sure about that yet, but let me just read some part of the story. He said, "It has been a great honor to contribute to nation-building efforts through our party. Unfortunately, recent developments within our party makes it particularly impossible to continue participating and making such constructive contributions. Our national challenges are deep-seated and require that we each make profound sacrifices towards rescuing our country. My commitment to rescuing Nigeria remains firm, even if the route differs." So meaning that it's possible that the Labour Party is happening. I wish to thank you personally for your graciousness and leadership, and I wish you well and best of luck in the service of our country. So let's see how this plays out, because people were really hopeful that Peter Obi was going to emerge the PDP presidential candidate, rather, not aspirant. The presidential candidate. But now they say that he's dumped PDP for Labour Party. Let's watch and see how that unfolds. Maybe they might just have, because a lot of Nigerians are rooting for Peter Obi.
Absolutely.
So we need.
He seems to be quite credible.
Yeah, he seems to have he seems to have that integrity capital amongst Nigerians. So hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed, and we'll take a break now. When we come back from break, I think I'd like to ask our guest what he thinks about the Peter Obi move. We'll have our guest to discuss, the aviation field. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics,
It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, according to a publication on this day, air transportation with its associated complex networks is a major source of transportation for people, goods, and services globally. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. The Nigerian aviation industry has grown over the years in size, capital investment, safety, and quality management systems, which provides several benefits to the Nigerian economy. The air transport sector contributes about 59 billion naira to the national GDP. It supports about 159,000 jobs and pays about 8.5 billion naira in tax annually. It aids the fast and reliable movement of high value to weight products, e.g. cargo for shippers. Air transportation also stimulates and supports tourism, and it has created opportunities for several international businesses, creating market links for export purposes. Now, how do you think the fuel crisis in the Nigerian aviation sector has affected the economy? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow Africa with the hashtag Wayshow. I was going to ask quickly, have you done any recent air travels before we bring in our guest?
No, I haven't.
How about you, Norma?
I did that earlier in the year, about January, and yeah, it was. I mean, it's probably the only source of movement around Nigeria now.
Correctly.
You can't go on the roads because of all of the safety issues that you have. You can't go on water, you know, and then it's really the only option. But because of how dependent Nigerians have become now, the prices have also increased.
Yes.
So if you don't book ahead of time, then if you're going to have emergencies,
ahead of time
so it doesn't.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it's a major problem if that is the only means of transportation that we can't depend on as Nigerians today.
And we're now having fuel
Aside
crisis.
from that,
and then we're having
a
crisis.
friend of mine actually, when you were talking about it being recent, I thought you were saying something about a few weeks ago or this month. But however, a friend of mine she traveled to Abuja and got stuck in Abuja because the airline, I don't want to call the name.
Yeah, couldn't leave
because for some reason, and of course
there
they
was
did
no
not,
fuel.
and they did not give. So I don't want to go into all the details.
Well,
but
just
the bottom line is
canceling.
it just kept on canceling, and they kept them there for hours. I think. Yes,
I also knew someone who
was stuck as well. So
was in that quagmire
Yes.
recently as well, and it's just so frustrating because if you're going to do business
Do
and then
it
you
right.
have you're not even them, you have business to run, and then you have meetings or something, and then
Totally.
they cancel
It's
your
Nigeria
fuel.
now. You fly. Just do prayer and fasting because
Anything
you're
can
not sure
happen.
of coming back. Because I mean
Anything can happen.
I think he was what's his name, Oyema, the president for the aviation, whatever, kept on announcing, "Oh, we're going to shut down. We're not going to shut down."
Exactly.
The next thing, there was a government intervention that said they wanted to subsidize the fuel.
Exactly.
It was just a lot,
It's
you know.
been
But let me
on
bring
for
in
a
our
while.
expert because this
Yes.
one could come in. That's how they say it. Bola is a resourceful corporate executive with work experience spanning over 28 years, 14 of which were spent as a C-level executive. He is a consummate finance and accounts professional with extensive exposure to marketing, operations, and management at various levels. A 1991 graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and an associate of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He's also an alumnus of Stephen F. Austin State University, Texas, where he graduated top in his MBA class of 2004. He's currently executive director with DMA Advisory and Management Services Limited in Victoria Island, Lagos, and he's joined us live in studio. Might I add, a friend of the house. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bola, for joining us.
It's good to be here again.
So, first of all, before I go into aviation, what's your quick thought on Peter Obi dumping PDP for Labour
For
Party?
AMPP?
Yes, Labour Party, I think I heard.
I think we're at that junction where we should look at what possibilities does a third party or a third force hold. Because sometimes a third force could actually become a second.
True.
Yes. If you think about the fact that we had AMPP before, we had AD, and somewhere along the line there was this merger that created APC. So the question at this junction is, are we creating a new second party which may become a ruling party?
Yeah.
It's a possibility. There seems to be a force somewhere across most democracies that gravitates political partisanship into two main parties. Whether it is in America or France,
everywhere in the world,
you see it moves towards those two party systems. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be different. So if AMPP is going to come into the mainstream, one of the two prominent parties might be relegated
to the background. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let's move to aviation. You know that right now, the only safe means of transportation is air.
What about the water? I thought you said
what are we?
Are the fishes annoyed with us?
The water does not connect everywhere. But tell us, what's the issue? Because first of all, when I heard that the government was going to, sadly you couldn't join us then because you had other engagements. When the government announced subsidizing and all of that, I said, is this not another problem? Like we already have issues with subsidizing the PMS. You now want to go and start subsidizing aviation fuel. Will this bring another problem again for us in the economy? But just explain to us what the real issue is with the aviation sector and the crisis that they're having with fuel and why it is disrupting a lot of flights, you know, and of course we're seeing a lot of increments in their pricing.
The problem is actually the price of aviation for Jet 1 that moved from about 190 to about 700.
Yeah.
And when you think about the fact that in aviation, the cost of the fuel is between 30 and 40% of the cost profile. So when what is supposed to be 40% when it was 190 suddenly goes to 700, it becomes extremely difficult for the airlines to keep the birds in the air because the cost will be too much and they'll be running at a loss. That is at the heart of the problem. Now, and that is not just Nigeria, let me also add.
Yeah.
air travels in America jumped 40% between January and this month. In fact, in last month alone, it jumped by almost 20% last month alone. And it has to do with the same problem, Jet A1 fuel.
And that was why I took that quote, because that quote is linked to the bio whatever fuel that they're trying to promote, that they are cheaper. Go ahead.
You know, and in Nigeria, there are certain peculiarities in the importation scheme. When you listen to the lawmakers and the other stakeholders, they had a meeting when this guy said they were going to down tools, the aircraft are not going to be flying any longer. So they had this meeting. Even the CBN governor was at that meeting.
True.
And they were trying to find out, okay, what exactly is the landing
cost of this fuel?
Aviation fuel? And I remember the CBN was like, oh, you know, if this thing is about 400 and something naira, how come it is selling for 700?
Yeah.
Almost double the price.
Almost double. So apparently, there are certain cost elements that are not for open discussion. That is my theory about what is going on. And judging from some other segment that I'm closer to as far as oil and gas is concerned, I know that that is not out of place. So what does it take for the government to say, I'm giving you an allocation to import aviation fuel? It should not be a big deal. But are there other costs that goes with that that are not on the table? If those costs are there and they are not on the table, they won't be mentioned in those public discussions. But as a seller, I know that I've incurred those costs. And it's going to go into how I will price my final product.
Yes.
So that is what I think is going on. So, and the only way to deal with that is if government is ready to be sincere, to intervene. There are two levels of intervention here now. One is at the level of those costs that nobody wants to talk about because they are typically around graft issues. So nobody brings them to the top table for discussion. That is an intervention. So government can say, look, if you guys have been collecting 10 naira from these people, can we make it 2 naira so that things can get better?
Or not collect at all. The way you collect is enough.
Normally, you're not supposed to collect anything. That is the reality. Now, the other part is what they have done, which is the subsidy. That is very worrisome. At this time, across the entire world, there are all forms of subsidy. In fact, in the UK, I saw a memo asking the policemen to treat economic thieves differently. People who go to the store to go and steal food. You know, that you need to change your approach to how you treat them because they know what is going on. UK is experiencing 40-year all-time high inflation. And that is how it is across. So there are interventions by government across the world. Nigeria should not be different, and it shouldn't be strange that we are intervening. Where the real problem is, are we subsidizing graft? One, you know, which means some costs that are not even meant to come into play in the first instance are being packaged into that final cost to the consumer. And we are now subsidizing that.
What we've collected, we're just giving it back.
You know, that is one. The other part is, are we going to make it temporary, or we might extend it beyond an emergency intervention?
Or is it infinity?
Ad infinitum. We can just decide to keep going. Because subsidy in Nigeria, consumption subsidy in Nigeria has become a racket. It is a black hole of unaccountability. And they won't even allow you to bring your torchlight close to it anyway. And the people that are involved are also high and mighty. They are influential people in the society. So these are the problems we're dealing with in aviation. You know, at the point in time, the government was tempted to say, look, I'm going to allow you, aviation guys yourself, to import your own aviation fuel. But somewhere along the line, that did not work out.
Yes.
Because that...
Well, had that happened, what would have been the outcome in terms of, like, you know, to us as a people? What would have been the impact?
It might have been better
To import fuel.
For them to import
by themselves.
Yes.
I was going to ask
but they were not going to also allow that.
them
Because
to do
when you allow that, you break, how do I put it now? The people that are already into it.
You break the leeway for those who have the terms and conditions apply to actually benefit from it. So
that is it. So those guys were just troubling the people who were supposed to grant them the allocation. The allocation did not come. And sometimes too, when government say, okay, we will do that, there is supposed to be a formal documentation that says this is release that or give them the allocation.
Totally.
Government might just say it and that letter might not come. If that letter doesn't come, that will be what that institution will rely on and say, I didn't get any memo.
So if I may step in, please, how do we steer this ship away from the problems we're currently facing in the aviation system or sector?
We must refine fuel.
It's back to homegrown industries.
Part of the problem, because although this is a peculiar one, but we've had bouts of aviation fuel shortages even in past years. It just was not as severe as what we have right now. And what normally leads to that are either there is no forex to import, there are problems, there are certain bureaucratic problems or certain changes in policy and all of that. But because we import, we run into bigger problems. If you don't have effects, for example, how do you import? But the question you must ask is, why am I importing a product for which the raw material is here? So we could eliminate a lot of the problem if we could refine our fuel here in country and make it available to the users.
Which comes back to our governance.
Let's come back to our government.
You know, this thing you just said now.
Headache.
I'm not seeing any
but some things are happening in that space, you know now.
Well, I know Dangote refinery is coming, but let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so if you just tuned in, we're discussing the fuel crisis in Nigerian aviation sector with Bolahon Olojede. And please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow. All right, so because when you mentioned the subsidy, refining our fuel, it means that we're not going to have any end in sight. But, you know, there's a peculiarity for jet fuel. Jet fuel is not like every other one, you know. There's no refiner when a problem, plane fee crash. You know, I believe that this is supposed to be very, very specialized. The technique, or is it the regular type of refining?
Incidentally, there's nothing special about it.
Are you serious?
Wow.
It's in the bracket. If you look at the fractional distillator, you will see it in the bracket of the kerosene side of things. Yes. In fact, it's more or less like a special kind of kerosene. That is what it is. And when you look at, for example, the Dangote refinery, those things are not, don't be saying them doing for backyard. World class assets, you know. And apart from the Dangote refinery, the government refineries, we have been told that they have re-awarded the contract for the revamp all over again. They did for Warri, Kaduna, Port Harcourt refineries. It might take about 2 years for those contracts to be completed. And I think one was in April last year, another was awarded in August last year. So by early 2023, I believe one or two of those contracts should come up.
And be running.
Yeah. Now, it still is sit-down-look kind of situation, because this is not the first time we are awarding the revamp of those refineries.
I was going to talk about that.
Yes. So Nigerians are watching. Will it happen this time by dint of luck or whatever? Well, I pray it happens, so that apart from Dangote, when Dangote comes on stream, we can also have the government refineries complement whatever is going on there.
I was just going to tell you that I read somewhere that Dangote was looking for $1.1 billion to complete refinery.
The refinery has been running behind schedule. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
At some point, federal government had to invest
In his refinery.
In that refinery. And if you look closely or think through what might be going on, it might not be far from the fact that refineries was not possibly meeting certain obligations as they were falling due. And guess what? I am also of the opinion that it is important for Nigeria, for that Dangote refinery to succeed.
Yes.
So we can't afford to fold our hands and say, it's a private initiative.
No, we need it to work.
We need it to work. So whatever we can do to support it to work is okay.
Very welcome.
It's welcome.
So how can
While we also
support-
do government.
Yeah, so what are the things that we can, is it on the part of the citizens or on the part of the government?
You get $1.1 billion.
Well, I think government first.
Yes.
You know, but that is not to say you cannot open it for private investors.
Right.
You know, but there are control, concern, and all that. But they know how they do these things. You don't need to give up control. At the same time, you can raise money in the market, and people will come into the business. So it depends on him, and he's savvy enough to know how to proceed with those. He has done it in the past with some of his other businesses,
True.
which he came to the market and raised money.
Okay, so I was going to ask about how this fuel crisis is impacting the business of aviation in Nigeria right now. You know, because are we seeing, is it, sometimes issues like this, they capitalize on it and they're cashing out. But are we seeing that happening? Because I entered a plane one time, you know, I think 2 months ago or something, was empty. You know, and it's a big bus. It's not like it's the small bird. You know,
That's very sad.
So how is that impacting? Because I know at some point, some of the airlines had come together that they were going to, like, you know how you have the sky consolidation. You know how you have the sky whatever, the membership whatever.
Correct.
I think Air Peace and some other airlines,
About four
of them came together to say, you know what, let's group our clientele and all of that. So how is that impacting the business of aviation?
That also has to be approached with caution, because you don't want some sort of catalyzation, you forming a cartel to control prices.
Sure.
Okay.
Now that is not acceptable from an economics perspective. But at the same time, if it is collaboration that will be of benefit to the people, that should be welcome. And it is the duty of the regulators in that space to ensure that whatever they do does not lead to fleecing of the consumers. That's what the regulator need to do. But obviously, it is affecting the industry. If you have a big bird in the air and it's empty, that is horrible, because the same amount of fuel, or nearly the same amount of fuel, is what is going to consume to the destination, and he has nothing to recover all of that from. Then the question is, why are people running away from the flight? Is it because of the price? Has the price gone up that much? Because I know in Nigeria, the price has not increased in the same way the aviation jet fuel has increased. If it is, by now,
we should be paying like 200, 300,000 per flight.
You know what I'm talking about. You know. So that situation, I found it a bit odd. What I'm aware of is that some airlines have reduced the number of flights. And when you reduce the number of flights, yes, so you kind of group together what should have been 3 flights.
In one trip.
Go one trip, and then maybe go another one in the evening and all of that. But it is very bad for the economy. Very bad. Maybe we will fall back on whatever we can do online. If there are meetings that do not require me. But you know, there are things you just cannot do online. You have to be there.
You have to be physically there.
You have to be physically there. And those ones will definitely suffer.
So what's the way forward? Because where we are in Nigeria today, it's a crisis situation all over. I mean, earlier we mentioned the train transportation is on hold. The fact that, of course, the waterways are not even an option, the roads are unsafe, and this is probably the most credible and safe mode of transportation in Nigeria now. So what's the way forward? How can the government, whatever these behind the scene benefits, how can they move beyond that to actually tackle this situation of jet fuel crisis?
I think they have already intervened with subsidy. What they have committed to
is that enough?
Is to subsidize that fuel. It is not enough, but I'm not so sure that that we're going to get better. Wow. A better deal.
You have just killed my spirit even more.
It's the reality. When we are moving into an election season, what politicians are thinking of is what will bring money and the election. Nobody is thinking about all this other plenty stuff.
But they need us to move to go and support them in different parts of Nigeria. How do we move? We need
that's part of why they are saying they will subsidize the fuel down. So we will sell at not more than 400 or whatever, you know, when it should be 700.
But they're not going to make the problem to go away.
But I don't think they have the will to make the problem go away. Let's pray that come next season, when the new government is in place, that there will be a stronger will to deal with certain matters that everybody has run away from. Issues of subsidy, issues of graft that is in our own oil and gas. Today, it is so shameful that while sovereign investment is growing in Saudi Arabia, while Saudi Aramco has become the most valuable company in the world, overtaking Apple and Google and Microsoft and everybody,
Aramco.
Nigeria cannot even meet its own quota under
Very
OPEC.
sad.
Yeah, it's so. I have lost the hope that anything would change in that direction in the few months left for this administration.
So let's hope the next government. But you know, so yesterday we saw a plane that was alleged to have been that was alleged to have crashed, but later we then found out that it was being towed from whatever, I think it was sold or something, and the owners were towing the. Can you break down why
in this season when aviation fuel is so expensive, it makes sense to tow an aircraft. Yes, because aircraft on the ground is a guzzler of the fuel. Yeah, so when they land at the international airport and then they taxi all the way to the domestic, they do that from time to time.
Yeah. Is it because of the engine?
It's the efficiency of them. It's like when you have a certain level of certain power within some generators, and you just put on a few things, you are actually wasting the fuel. The rate at which it is consuming the fuel is small. Even cars.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you can open the engine of a car and it's running good, it's more efficient than when it is in that traffic and it's crawling. Yeah. So when it's on the floor, on the ground, it's fuel consumption, it's not efficient. And in these days when aviation fuel is so expensive, I would rather tow it.
Wow. You rather tow it? So that was what happened.
I guess
the buyer, you know, are we going to be seeing more towing of already our road there's problem, there's traffic gridlock. We now start towing plane again.
You know, it might send wrong signals. So I don't think it's a sight you want to see often.
No.
By the time the consumers see aircraft being towed, they're like, now God save them.
Because people were actually thinking that plane was faulty, and you know, maybe that's why
that it landed on the road or something.
So I don't think we should something to be encouraged.
Right.
Now that government is saying I will subsidize this thing, please let's be able to taxi those.
Let's take a comment.
Wow. Okay, my comment goes thus. It says Dangote and Port Harcourt refineries are coming soon. The first phase of Port Harcourt is coming up end of this year. Dangote is coming up by September this year. Lagos, Ibadan, and Itakpe and Warri Rail are working. Our sovereign wealth fund is about 2.5 billion. This is from Sule Bauchi. Thank you, Sule.
The information provided are quite
accurate. Yes.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you.
So what does that translate? Our sovereign fund.
Our sovereign funds represent our capacity to also invest, because that's what sovereign fund does. It's invest. They are money you keep away when for rainy days, and you invest them. And we'll be having that. But when you take that sovereign wealth that he's talking about, and you take the Saudi sovereign wealth, well, at least we have sovereign wealth.
We have
That's
something.
We have something.
Okay, this way. Let's move on.
All right, I have this comment, and it says, "Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying?" We already know who it is. Hashtag Ways. Concerning the fuel crisis in Nigeria aviation sector, this is very worrisome. Something has to be done about it as soon as possible before it gets out of hand.
It is already out of hand.
That our that our refineries are no more functioning well,
They're not
and
producing
the
aviation
system is dead. If Aliko Dangote is doing something about our refineries, let him do it. That means nobody can travel again due to increase in flight tickets, and this is very bad and unfortunate. My heart goes out to those who lost their loved ones in Houston, Texas during the shooting. Did you guys have a meeting? You three beautiful ladies, all in black with our guests.
With our
all
gentlemen.
good.
We all got the memo.
It's Daniel Ila.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Daniel. Thank you so much, Daniel.
We got the memo. But so, yeah, I mean, as we wrap up this conversation, right, there's a Minister for Aviation in this country. Looking to, because we rightly know, nothing's going to happen between now and 2023 with the current dispensation. Looking towards probably a new dispensation, do you think, if you want to evaluate the work of the aviation minister and how far and how well they have fared, do you think, first of all, no, let me not give you that burden to go and start evaluating. Let them not look for you.
From an opinion perspective.
Okay, so I want you to tell me what his performance was, because I really, really think that the aviation sector did a lot better under the former dispensation compared to now. A lot of people actually shelved road travels, and a lot of people...
And they were able to put extra money into...
There was a lot going on in the aviation sector. Comparing it to now. So I was going to say that if you now look towards the future, what would be the quality? So let's evaluate, first of all, this aviation dispensation, and let's see what should be like the criteria to look out for when selecting a minister that would oversee such a sensitive place as the aviation ministry.
They won't ask us,
assuming
though.
the choose.
Right?
Exactly.
No, but they might be listening to you.
But at the same time, I don't think Adi Serika has done that badly.
Okay.
There were major projects in aviation that he was able to do. Some additional
airports,
tracks here and there. Some additional equipment here and there. Some certification here and there.
The revamping of our Lagos airport.
Lagos airport. The terminal that was started under Jonathan was also delivered.
Completed, yes.
So he has done some things right. Where I always had a problem with him was his idea about Air Nigeria, or what did he call it? A national
carrier.
What's the name of the national carrier of America?
American Air. American Express.
It doesn't exist.
United Air is
it's not an American. All of them are private.
Okay.
They're all private.
Okay.
Now, aviation.
But there's Kenyan Airways. There's South African Airways.
How well is South Africa?
There's only one that is alive and working. His name is Ethiopia. South African Airline is so dead that it has become a huge burden on the government of South Africa. They don't even know what to do with it.
Wow.
Kenya Airline is comatose.
But they're doing well.
They're struggling. Government is trying to, let me put money, make all this plane no go ground for. That's what they're doing. So there is the aviation business is a fairly complex business. So for government to want to play in that space, it must really define for itself a restricted circle in which it will play. Because government does not run business properly.
You are of the opinion that we shouldn't bother ourselves with the national air carriers.
Yours is create the right environment.
For investors
and let the private sector take control of that area. And if you insist, we already have 2 airlines. Arik and Aero Contractor are fully owned by the government.
Oh, really?
They're on the books of AMCON. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So if you are so particular about that, then transform those ones and let them be the national carrier.
So if you're gonna now assess like,
but we need a professional.
Yes.
He is a professional.
Yeah.
So we need a professional like him. But we also now need. There are certain issues that he wasn't able to deal with. I believe we need more private sector participation in that space.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he had some ideas towards that, but most of them did not happen. And there was certain privatization that were meant to, or concession, don't let me call it privatization. Concession that were meant to happen. It has not happened as we speak.
Yeah.
We don't know whether it will happen before he leaves.
Is there any room for continuation, like some, I don't know what to call it, a manual or whatever? So these are things that we're proposing. Is this something that can
That a nice guy could
a
do?
blueprint?
You never know. If you bring in a professional who like him, he might have a buy-in into what he's trying to do and continue from there. But we also know that in Nigeria,
Nigeria, there is no continuation.
this policy,
do their own thing.
they'll give it to this
Yeah.
government when it comes to completing other people's projects. They did a bit in that. Other people's road complete, other people's rail complete. And it's better than
I don't
abandoning
believe
them.
you should call it other people's rule. You know why I say that? Government
It is
supposed to
still
continue.
it is still our money
Yes.
now.
So I'm just saying, because again, this is the mindset that people have, and that's why we see a lot of abandoned projects. Because they believe
over everywhere.
Not be me start them. So do you understand? It's not a. There should be a blueprint that you just come in, plug and play. But I want to ask you one last question. Emirates, right? Emirates is huge.
Huge.
And Etihad is huge, right?
Very huge.
So who are the managers of those airlines? Is there no government influence in those
Government
airlines?
is seriously involved.
So how are they
in that.
involved in it?
But you see, the way those guys do business
It's totally
is that it's totally different. They set up like a business-oriented agency of government. So you may have Abu Dhabi Investment. Now that when you hear names like that, they are not run like your civil service. They are run professionally like a private sector institution.
With expatriates,
Yes.
the whole
So
works.
the way they run is totally different, though they are government agencies.
Yeah.
Because something like that, I think Ambode did when he was governor. He created a sector that was global for investors and investment. So it cut off all the bureaucracies of the ministries and all of that. But he had a lot of issues. I think that was part of his problem, because people just felt like they were trying to take food away from our table. Even if the government decides now to say they want to create a professional body that would handle investments and all of that for growth and economic growth for the country. Won't this public servants, or civil servants,
Find a way around
would
it.
they not find a way to...
The government has created one, and it is that National Sovereign Investment Authority.
Yeah. And how are they doing?
They are doing fantastically well. If they have much more money, they probably could do a whole lot more. But with what we have, those guys are doing well. And you see the professionals that were hired there, they are not the typical civil servants. And also there is minimal government bureaucracy and
intervention and influence
on what those guys are doing.
Awesome.
So we just need to expand things like what they are doing. It will come ready handy.
You can also suggest that you become a vision minister. But thank you so much, Balawa. We had fun. Who knew that aviation would be so interesting like this?
I know, right?
Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Isi. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at Aviation Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you miss this, our very long quote, let me take my time. This was said in the US. Well, do we have alternative? No, we don't have that today. Today, commercial aviation faces a number of challenges: fuel cost, environmental impact, and energy security that sustainable jet fuels can help to address. Fuels that are delivered from biomass may offset portions of the carbon produced by the aircraft, as well as mitigate air quality issues such as emissions of sulfur and particulate matter. And domestic alternatives to petroleum jet fuel can expand and diversify the jet fuel supply and contribute to the price stability and supply security. So you see, this problem, it is not unique to Nigeria. Everybody is looking for a solution. We'll see you guys live on, at 8 p.m. tomorrow.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hello, this is the Greater Lagos Vision, and I'm your host, Love Ikuku Oyedokun. Since assumption of office in May 2019, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has maintained his commitment to ensuring safe mobility of residents and ease of doing business in the state. This was demonstrated through the official launch of a security-fitted apparatus, safe, comfortable, and modernized taxi scheme, codenamed LagRide, with a rollout of the first batch of 1,000 brand new GSC automobiles at the State House in Alausa, Ikeja. The ride-hailing taxi initiative, which has been operated on a lease-to-own basis, is a component of the state government's multimodal transportation blueprint being executed under the traffic management and transportation pillar of the themes agenda of the Sanwo-Olu administration. This is the Greater Lagos Vision. Welcome once again. I'm Love Ikuku Oyedokun. This episode features infrastructure, Sanwo-Olu restates commitment to ensuring seamless mobility to deploy technology for enhanced movements. Transportation, Lagos State set to host Maiden National Transport Technology Conference. Lagos Blue Line Rail, Sanwo-Olu says project will be electrified once vendors to stay away. Any city without a fully functional infrastructural system will suffer a setback. As such, engineers must be well trained in order to bring to bear their professional attributes to the growth of the nation. From an infrastructural perspective, the Managing Director of Lagos Metropolitan Transport Authority, LAMATA, Engineer Abimbola Akinaju, stated this during her presentation at the 2022 Alumni Luncheon of the University of Lagos Faculty of Engineering Alumni Association in Lagos.
It was a reunion, a veritable networking opportunity for the alumni of the Faculty of Engineering, University of Lagos. It was also an avenue to give back to their alma mater through the launching of a 500 million naira fundraising project for the faculty. Away from that, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his team cashed in on the opportunity provided by the reunion to tell the impact of the alumni on the state's infrastructural development in less than 3 years.
And so the blue line you can see is a massive feat of engineering, and I'm sure all of you need to be proud of it. From 4 lanes, we changed the design to 10 lanes. So we took a massive right of way to do 10 lanes, and we were very smart to keep a rail corridor in the middle of it. So the alignment actually is about 16 lanes, because when you've done 10 lanes and you still have enough alignment to keep a rail, corridor, was the main feat, and that's why we're able to, preserve, and which was the most difficult option to take. But because we were committed at that time to say, you know what, let's have the audacity to want to do it, and that's why, we started it.
The 4 stations, Mile 2, Alaba, Igomo, and National Theatre, they're completed. You will notice that Mile 2 and Alaba, they have 2 concourses. Obviously, that's based on studies that had been done to determine sort of ridership that we would get, and we realized that, and I mean, it's obvious. Mile 2 is a market area, so there's a lot of people there. So that's why we have 2 concourses that allows us to take on more passengers. It's the same thing in Igomo. Same thing in Alaba. Igomo and National Theatre are also completed. We have pedestrian bridges at each of those stations that allows us to bring passengers from one side of the expressway to
the Managing Director of Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, spoke with journalists on the sideline of the event.
Infrastructure is owned by all. So it means that as an individual, you have a responsibility. Something has been built, not to destroy it, not to vandalize it. And so therefore, people also need to be aware and also take ownership. And that's what I always say. If something belongs to you, you are not likely to go and destroy it.
She also told the forum that over 5,000 people affected by the construction of the rail have been compensated by the Lagos State government. The Lagos Blue Line Rail on completion will be running on electric tracks with electric motor vehicle EMV, and as such, citizens have been warned to keep off the train lines. Handing down this warning shortly after inspecting the Blue Line Rail, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, assured Lagosians that the completion date of the 2 rail projects remains. The train took off from the National Theatre Igomu to Orile, through Alaba, Mile 2, and back to the Marina axis of the state, having Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, some members of his cabinet, officials of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, and contractors handling the project on board. The governor inspected the ongoing works on the Blue Line Rail project and stations, and a new 4-coach train, which according to him is a typical train that will be used on the Blue Line. He expressed satisfaction at the pace of work, maintaining that the project will be delivered on schedule. Sanwo-Olu was unhappy at the level of vandalism along the rail corridors and warned perpetrators to desist from such acts.
There are electric trucks. They are going to be running on electricity, and you will know that citizens or passengers or anybody whatsoever cannot walk on those things. Right, so gentlemen of the press, you have that responsibility. From now, we'll begin to mention that. For the next 6 months, 8 months, we begin to mention that this track is not like the red line. The red line is DMU, but the blue line is EMU. So these are some of the communications that we need to begin to pass out, and they are electric train lines.
The governor also assured that adequate security would be put in place at every station and platform with the use of CCTV. He disclosed that the state was set to bring in from China additional 2 sets of 4 train coaches by September and October.
The additional trains that were procured for the Blue Line, we're going to be going to China when they open up, maybe in May or June, when it's completely completed, just to have a look and send it on shipment to probably get to the country before September, October. So based on the promises we gave you at the beginning of the year, we are still on track at both the Red Line and the Blue Line.
Recently, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu unveiled the first batch of 1,000 brand new GAC branded vehicles, otherwise known as lag ride. This for sure is another step forward in the state government's drive to develop an efficient transportation model in tune with modernity and comfort. According to Sanwo-Olu, there's no plan to run existing hailing ride operators out of business, but to offer safer alternatives and clear the roads of rickety cars used for taxi business. Joining me in this episode is the National President, E-Hailing Drivers and Private Owners Association of Nigeria, Comrade Idris Shonuga, for more insight into this scheme. Thank you so much, Comrade Idris Shonuga, for joining us today on the Greater Lagos Vision.
Thank you.
Right, you are the president of the National President, Professional E-Hailing Drivers and Private Owners Association of Nigeria. Tell us, in Lagos State, the Lagos State government just introduced recently the Lagos Ride. Tell us exactly, how has it been? How have your members been faring since the introduction?
Thank you. Our members are very happy. They are very happy in the sense that the business of a Lagos Ride is going to add value to their collective existence, in the sense that they are going to be using the brand new vehicles to run their transport service on that Lagos Ride, unlike before that they use old vehicles, popularly known to Kumpo, even Nigerian old used car, to run taxi business, which in different cases develop faults at the middle of roads. It's almost impossible to maintain those vehicles, But the added advantage with Lagos Ride introduction is maintaining of those vehicles for the drivers who are beneficiaries. You see, running a transport business has been very difficult in terms of maintenance of the vehicles, because you are always on the road on a daily basis. And we don't have a good mechanic system in Nigeria. So majority of drivers patronized the road mechanics, dealing with all manners of spare part dealers, getting wrong spare parts to fix their car. At times, they spend double amount to repair the cars, and it's eating hard on them. But with the introduction of Lagos Ride, that comes with mechanical insurance, where the vehicle will be maintained for them for the period of 4 years, where the contract is between them and the Ibile Holdings, who is going to manage the operation of that business. It's a welcome development. So when we heard about this scheme that is being launched, and it concerns our industry, because the vehicle will be operated with algorithm, is online approach, unlike conventional way of transportation before where you have to flag down. This is online and we are e-hailers. So we approach the Ministry of Transportation that the Lagos State government cannot launch such a laudable scheme without giving the practitioner the sense of belonging, because we are e-hailers, we have thousands of trip history on Uber and Bolt, and we are professionals, so we need to get involved. So we apply, and the ministry directs us to the appropriate body that is going to pilot the Lagos ride, which is the Bile Holdings. So we met the MD, and we had to ask to write a proposal. We did not lobby. First of all, as a body, they deal with body, they deal with individuals. From the conversation, we approach them as a body. Then I think when I met the MD of Ibile Holdings, he made us to understand that the associations, the individuals, Lagosians who are interested in the scheme can apply. We apply as an association. You understand? Then the procedure is like every other person. The requirement to be a beneficiary of Lag Ride is uniform. 20% equity contribution of the asset of 7.5 million. The interest of 10% for the period of 4 years. You have the equity, you have the down payment of 1.8 million, which we see it will be very impossible for our member, ordinary e-hailing drivers, to benefit from this scheme with such amount, because it is so huge for e-hailing drivers to sum up 1.8 million as a deposit. It means the ordinary person cannot be partaker of this scheme. So we appeal that is there any other way, and they gave us two banks, FCMB and Polaris Bank, precisely to give us loan, and they came up with corporate guarantee on behalf of the association for our member to be a beneficiary. The Polaris Bank will borrow our members, they said 1.8 million. You understand? Why are we standing for them? You understand? So, and our member has been applying. But besides, we, the individual members, also need to have some certain contribution from that 1.8 million, 20% equity contribution of 1.8 million, which is around 300,000. And we have employed our drivers, advised them to key into this, because it's going to make life better for them. Then the most interesting part of it that make us to subscribe to Lagos Ride is that what the union stand for is workers' right, the workers' welfare. Because we notice that the government has been less concerned on the informal sector, because our interest is in the informal sector. The e-hailing drivers fall in informal sectors, and informal sector has been neglected for a long time. Some certain benefit workers' right has been denied, such as HMO, pension scheme plan, opportunity to have cooperatives, then perhaps mortgage plan. These are set of workers that solve problem of transportation in the state, moving passenger from one point to another point with expected professional service. They need to be taken care of. But to my dismay, all these things has been embedded in Lagos Ride business scheme, because our own concerns is that what are the provisions for the drivers that are going to drive this business? And we're made to understand that 1.5% commission has been set aside for the driver and their family of 4, which is what we HMO, Health Management Scheme, under the plan. You see, when they charge 25% commission of each transaction consummated under the platform, 4% out of it goes into comprehensive insurance and mechanic insurance to maintain that vehicles, which I see as a welcome development. It wasn't anywhere included in their current module of operandi with other hub companies. And if Lagos State government put this in their business plan, I think, they are coupling international standard practice, which is why we are very happy with Lagos State government, particularly Babaji Sanwo-Olu, for making sure that all these things are embedded in Lagos Ride. With the notion of Lagos Ride, when we had meeting with them, if they follow all the process to the letter, I think it will reduce traffic congestion in Lagos State, because they are the first app companies that will introduce what we call carpooling. Carpooling means classification of rider, where 2, 3, 4 different customers can join one vehicle going towards the same destination. And with the introduction of brand new comfortable vehicles, I think a lot of Lagosians will keep their vehicle at home. What prompted a lot of Lagosians to make use of their vehicle are because we don't have a good, safe transport system. That is why everybody wants to have their vehicle on the road. And judging from the fact that we have less road and we have many people in the city, we are moving at the same time. But if we have a safe system, safe transport system, comfortable, safe transport system, a lot of people will keep their vehicle at home and make use of Lagos Ride. What am I saying? With the introduction of this classification of rider, they will even pay less. They will pay less than the conventional taxi, where you used to pay 2,000 naira, you can pay less than 1,500, even 1,000, because you are sharing your ride with other customers, other users, meaning that the driver will end up earning more. In the sense that the driver is supposed to have earned 2,005, when he collects 1,300 or 1,200 into 4 places, is getting 5,000 instead of 2,500. And the same distance cover when you pick only one person. That will reduce a lot of traffic congestion if we can actually accept this concept introduced by Lagos Ride. The traffic will be entirely reduced. But if Lagos Ride deploy enough vehicle, the 1,000 vehicle is not enough. I must be sincere with you. If we have more than this vehicle, handing over to those who needed job opportunity to pilot it, a lot of Lagosians will keep their vehicle at home and will make use of Lagos Ride. Lagos Ride can enter anywhere in the street of Lagos State, because the majority of this vehicle are SUV. They can enter some bad area, and we have sampled it. You understand? It is not low vehicle, it's high on the ground. You can maneuver some bad spot. I see it as a solution if it's being piloted appropriately. Online transport system is already a smart system way of transportation, coupled with a lot of mechanism being embedded in it to make transportation easy, using a stone to kill 2 to 3 birds. Number one, the lag ride is not going to be conventional taxi. You take request, the driver take request randomly, and it solves the problem of moving within the city. 2, 3 people can enjoy a ride. And this ride we are talking about is a global standard. Even a lot of people since the launch of this vehicle have been getting a lot of reports from our members that they are asking them, is it real? You know, because this is the first time we are seeing that government make promise and they are fulfilling it. I thought when me saw it, I thought I'm dreaming, but today is reality. You see, if it's being piloted properly, it will fit in what we call Smart City Lagos, because that is no different from what is being practiced in Dubai and what is being practiced in Lagos. The e-lane service in Lagos State is already a smart way of transportation. Unlike those who promise us smart transport system and we are still seeing car of 15, 17, 18 years, 20 years running a taxi. But we are talking about a recent car, 2-year-old car, to run a taxi business with a fast system and with a lot of security gadgets, you know, to contain any security threat. And making the movement in the city of Lagos is very easy with the introduction of several mechanisms that will make life easy for Lagosian, for them to imbibe with this scheme. And I think, I don't know how they came about this, but I expect more of these things to come in later future. I want to really appreciate the office of Governor Sanwo-Olu for this laudable project. Is indeed a welcome development. And we, at Professional E-Hailing Drivers and Private Owners Association, are solidly behind him. We trust him again, and he's a man of his words. I was with him in 2020 when he said he's going to introduce a safe transport system. I didn't believe it will come to reality, but I'm seeing it in reality. May God bless him. Second time we are with you fully, in spirit, in physical.
That's all we have in this episode of the Greater Lagos Vision on Plus TV Africa. I'm Lovey Kuku Oyedoku. Bye for now.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Comic Republic is a Nigerian startup where we tell African stories. We push the African narrative forward through a traditional art form that is popular all around the world, which is comic books.
We kind of write stories that everybody can find a bit of themselves somewhere in there. You know, when you read our books, you will always be able to find one book that you are able to connect with, even if you are not an African. It's not just for Africans alone, but it's the African narrative. That's really what we do.
We take the process of telling our stories, you know, making our comic books engaging. We do it professionally and we take it as a business. We're growing bigger every day.
You know, we try to make sure that all of our comics, all of our content has a positive message underlying them, even apart from all the action, all the punching, and all the superheroics.
Right now we have close to 48,000 downloads per comic book. We get between 5,000 to 7,000 unique visitors every week. Nigerians have been really excited to see people in Nigeria creating heroes from Nigerians, telling Nigerians that we can be everything we need to be if we only try. The comic business actually has a wide range.
One of the major things that actually helps us to move forward here is the fact that we are more than just a team, we are a family. And family is everything. We understand ourselves, we know what we're meant to do when we're meant to do, and we get them done.
The first and foremost vision for Comic Republic is to take control of the African narrative. Who are the biggest superheroes you know today? You're looking at Spider-Man, Captain America, and Superman. If you look at the colors of their uniform, they're all the colors of the American flag. If you look at where those people come from, they come from America. This is a way that a country has, from generation to generation, programmed their people to believe that they are strong and they are efficient. We want to do the same with Comic Republic. That's what we want to do at Comic Republic. That's our vision. And until we're number one at that in the world, we're not going to stop.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
On Plus TV News now, Oshibanjo meets with delegates in Lagos. APC releases revised timetable for primary elections. Peter Obi withdraws from presidential race, resigns from PDP. Court adjourns Kanu's case to June 28th. Good evening, I am Olamide Adeyemi. This is the news now. The National Bureau of Statistics has appointed a new Statistician General of the Federation after the late Statistician General Dr. Simon Harry died after a brief illness. The newly appointed General, Mr. Prince Samuel Adeyemi, promised to start by strengthening its technical operation and enhance staff capacity.
In the coming months, we begin the process of producing statistics on new areas such as migration, internally displaced persons, and data on security. We will ensure that both NASC and all other surveys, as well as administrative data collection efforts, are completed successfully in preparation for the rebasing of the GDP next year.
Now, the CBN says online media reports purporting the sacking of the bank's governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, is untrue. Head of Corporate Communications at the CBN, Osita Onwanisiobi, made the rebuttal today in Abuja. Emefiele is currently out of the country on official assignments. Now, Mr. Peter Obi has withdrawn from the presidential race on the platform of the PDP and also resigned from the party. Obi announced his resignation in a letter addressed to the PDP national chairman dated 24th of May. Obi in the letter attributed the decision to recent developments within the PDP. Segun Showunmi emerged the governorship candidate of the PDP in Ogun State. Showunmi polled 554 votes to defeat his closest rival, Jimmy Lawal, who scored 30 votes, and Honorable Ladi Adebutu with 15 votes. The election, which was peaceful, free and fair, was conducted with security and monitored by INEC officials with members of the Inter-Party Advisory Council of Nigeria. Segun Showunmi, in his acceptance speech, commended members of the party for their support and promised not to let them down. He called on other aspirants to work together with him to secure victory for the party in the 2023 general elections.
Otumba Jimmy Adebisi Lawa, pool a total number of 30 votes. Pool a number of 30 votes. Honorable Oladipupo Adebutu, pool a total number of 15 votes. Segun Anthony Adeyemi Showunmi, pool a total number of 555.
I wish to extend an holy branch to all my comrades, my brother, fellow aspirants. It is the beginning of a new dawn in PDP and a sure step towards the defining moment in our beloved Ogun State. Thank you all. Segun Showunmi sincerely said, a new dawn commences right away.
Now, Governor Madu Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State has been nominated as the governorship candidate of the PDP. Fintiri marched unopposed after polling 663 out of 668 ballots during the party's governorship primary election today in Yola, the state capital. It was gathered that Fintiri became a lone candidate after the party's governorship screening committee disqualified one Ambassador Jamil Abubakar Waziri, who indicated interest in the race.
We are opening up the rural areas through aggressive rural infrastructure campaign, lightening up communities by providing electricity to towns hitherto not connected to the national grid. The host facilities were destroyed, especially in the insurgents' devastated areas. Today, we have bridged the infrastructural gap so fast that Adamawa State is emerging as one of the wonders of the urban renewals in this country.
I expect at the end of the day, our candidate, Governor Umaru Fintiri, will be declared the winner. And he's the sole candidate, so we expect just to commence campaigns straight ahead. Well, I expect also another transparent and credible process, at the national level. Sure.
Senator Siriak Dixon has called on the national leadership of the PDP to begin a process of reconciliation in order to assess the feelings of those hurt by the outcome of the party's primaries nationwide. Dixon, a former governor of the state, who was declared winner of the party's primary election for Bayelsa State, spoke to journalists afterwards. A correspondent, Jesse Essay, has details.
Dixon was the sole candidate for the Bayelsa West PDP primary election. The exercise was merely a ritual to fulfill all electoral requirements, as his only contender, Donald Danmoa, announced his withdrawal a day to the election. For him, it goes beyond emerging the winner of the primary. Dixon showed concern about those who vied for other positions but lost.
This is a call I'm making to the national leadership of our party. We are all stakeholders, and they should take note of this very extreme and rare development and ensure that party leaders in all our states are directed and enjoined to unfold a program of reconciliation to assuage the feelings of those who have been hurt by the decisions that ordinary members of our party from the grassroots have to make about their fate. 6 people now have to elect a flag bearer of a constituency. 9 people, 12 people, 10 people. So I know the feelings, and as a major stakeholder, I want to use this opportunity to call for understanding. If I don't, who will?
Dixon appreciated those he said were instrumental to his emergence as the flag bearer of the party for Bayelsa West Senatorial District.
I want to thank the leaders of our party in our state, beginning with the governor, who traditionally is leader of party. And I thank and appreciate the abiding support and solidarity that I've enjoyed all these years from the good people of this senatorial district and the elders of our party who have always been solidly behind us. Today I thank the organizing team that came, the party leaders. I thank INEC, the security people, for providing this very conducive atmosphere. And I thank the almighty delegates. Yes. The almighty delegates. They are our bosses in this process.
He called on all stakeholders of the PDP to ensure that the party is victorious in the national and state assembly elections. Jesse Essay, Plus TV News, Sagbama, Bayelsa.
Moving on, the National Working Committee of the APC has approved a revised timetable for the governorship, State House of Assembly, Senate and House of Representatives primary elections. On Thursday, the 26th of May 2022, is the governorship, state delegates, State House of Assembly, local government delegates, and on the 27th of May, which is Friday, the House of Representatives, the local government delegates, and Saturday, the 28th of May 2022, Senate, the local government delegates. The special convention for the presidential primary will be held as scheduled from Sunday 29th to Monday 30th of May 2022. Meanwhile, members of the APC under Shomolu Constituency 2 in the early hours of today staged a peaceful rally over alleged plans to impose Honorable Rotimi Olowo on them for the 5th time. Plus TV correspondent Love Ikuku Yedokun was there and now reports.
Carrying placards bearing different descriptions, members of the APC under Shomolu Constituency 1 marched from Bajulai Junction through Market Road, Akpata Street, down to APC Local Government Secretariat at Onikpanu in Lagos, with leaders of the party taking the lead. Rotimi Olowo is the APC candidate representing Shomolu Constituency 1 in the Lagos State House of Assembly. The growls of these party men and women against Olowo is not far-fetched. They believe that after 16 years in the House of Assembly, he should pave the way for others.
Party bigwigs had gone to talk to him. He said no, that he must go and contest. He served under 3 governors. He served under Fashola for 2 times. He served with Ambode. He's now serving with Sanwo-Olu. And we feel it is time for him to go so that other fresh beings can come in.
If my people say they still want him to go, fair enough. If they say they don't want him, if they say enough is enough, then enough is enough. I am standing by the people of Shomolu.
They called on the party leadership to refrain from imposition of candidates on the people if they are out to win the 2023 elections.
The problem was caused by the state chairman of the party, Ojelabi. Ojelabi is the main problem. He's the one that is trying to impose a candidate on the others. There are about 11 candidates in Shomolu local government. And what I'm saying is that we must give all the candidates a level playing ground to be able to exercise their democratic rights. But he has always been partial. He has always been one-sided. He will call a meeting and tell people that people should allow the party to allow somebody to run. You don't need to.
2019, our House of Representatives pulled 25,000 votes in Shomolu. Olowo managed to pull only 16,000 votes with the begging of people. The last election we have of chairmanship, because Olowo followed someone and imposed a chairman on us, the chairman pulled 9,000 out of 49,000 members. The people didn't vote for us. So if Olowo should be imposed on people, nobody will come out.
I'm using this opportunity to tell our party at the state, at the national, they should stop Honorable Olowo for the 5th time to go to the House of Assembly.
We say no to imposition. No to imposition. No to imposition. They should stop imposing Honorable Olowo Rotimi on us. He has said what is enough. Let him go and rest.
It remains to be seen if the hues and cries of these party faithful will hold sway. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
The former governor of Akwa Ibom, Godswill Akpabio, has kicked against microzoning the presidential ticket to the southeast by the APC. Mr. Akpabio was in Yola to canvass APC delegate vote ahead of the party's presidential primary. He insisted that competence should not be jettisoned for any reason during the primary. He said he is one of the Nigerians who believe in the unity of the country, asserting that voting him will end insecurity in the country.
This is Godswill Akpabio. Inshallah.
Moving on, the youth wing of the All Progressive Congress, APC, has called on the party's leadership to provide a level playing ground to all aspirants during the primary elections. The youths who embarked on a peaceful rally to the party's secretariat in Owerri, capital of Igbo State, say that anything short of free, fair and credible primary election will cause more harm than good to the party. According to the youth, the choice of the people this time should be respected and obeyed.
We also want to use
use this opportunity to also plead on the entire youth, on the behalf of the entire youth, for them to continue and to make sure they ensure a free and fair delegate election. Let them do it free and fair as it has already been. So we want to support our person. We believe that if it is done free and fair, we will get what we want, which is the people's choice, the choice of the youth. We also want to use this opportunity to also plead on the entire youth, on the behalf of the entire youth, for them to continue and to make sure they ensure a free and fair delegate election. Let them do it free and fair as it has already been. So we want to support our person. We believe that if it is done free and fair, we will get what we want, which is the people's choice, the choice of the youth.
Meanwhile, 3 aspirants jostling for the Odo South senatorial ticket on the platform of APC have kicked against alleged imposition of an aspirant by the party leadership. Speaking on behalf of the aspirant, former Nigerian ambassador to Togo, Sholaije, said the party leadership must be neutral and must be fair to all contestants. The aspirant said any attempt to impose an aspirant on them will lead to an unnecessary crisis in the party.
In a democratic setting, we expect that all the aspirants will be given enough space and encouraged to conduct their own affairs in a democratic manner, and that the party will give the aspirants a level playing field to contest in a free and fair atmosphere. But that's not what we are getting from the party chairman. For the past 1.5 weeks, he's been moving around the senatorial district. We want to seize the opportunity to call on the national chairman of the party, including his executive members, to call the state chairman to order, because we are serious contenders to the ticket of our party.
The Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria has raised an alarm over some state government that are owing members several months of salaries and other emoluments, especially Abia and Ondo states. The president of MDCN, Victor Makojola, who read the communique issued after the NEC meeting in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, said there is the need to increase retirement age of health workers as part of effort to stop mass exodus of Nigerian doctors to other countries.
Prior to this time, the general hospitals were not only the major service delivery outposts, they were also training grounds for doctors, especially house officers. Now, very few of these general hospitals have the capacity to train house officers, and that is because they do not have the accreditation to do so due to lack of expertise and decaying infrastructure. And so there has to be provision for care for every case of emergency. Prior to this time, the general hospitals were not only the major service delivery.
Makojola called on governments at all levels to increase funding for health care, especially the secondary level, and encourage them to prioritize allocation of resources for infrastructure and human capital development.
That is Northwest. Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress should take the matter of pensioners as a matter of urgency and should, in some cases, if possible.
MDCAN also wants the government to resolve issues with the academic staff union of universities on the ongoing strike to allow students to return to school. Now, retirees across the southwest state have disclosed that governors in the zone are owing them nothing less than 242 billion naira in gratuities and pensions. The retirees under the aegis of Nigerian Union of Pensioners who gathered in Akure, the Ondo State capital, during their zonal council meeting, berated the governors in checking their responsibilities. They complained that despite allowing pensioners in their state to live in penury, some of the governors went ahead to obtain nomination forms running to the tune of millions of naira. The pensioners also frowned at the manner at which the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress had been taking up their plight with relevant authorities.
In other zones than the Southwest, Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress should take the matter of pensioners as a matter of urgency and should, in some cases, if possible, declare trade disputes with all the state governments that are owing pensioners humongous amounts of money. Governors that are owing pensioners 7 years of unpaid gratuities, 6 years of unpaid gratuities and pensions, were the first to pay 100 million naira as nomination fund for their. So you can imagine if this type of governors becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, what will happen to pensioners?
Insecurity and terrorism have been a major challenge to the Nigerian government in recent times. The activities of Boko Haram have led to loss of lives and property in the country, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. Some of these activities include bombing, shooting of unarmed and innocent citizens, burning of police stations, churches, kidnappings of school girls, and more. Authority figures have continued to challenge the political class to rise to the occasion. The report.
African Bar Association at a press conference expressed their worries about the increasing levels of abuses by the government forces in the various theaters of conflict across the continent. They acknowledge the legitimacy of state actors and institutions to protect and keep the national boundaries and territories secure from terrorists and other criminals. They also pointed out the underlying conditions that are responsible for violence and conflict. The president of the African Bar Association, Hannibal Egbe Uwafo, said there was a need for change in the insecurity architecture of Nigeria. But unfortunately, the political class with the National Assembly has failed in their responsibility to the Nigerian system. He also stated that the media has a big role to play in shaping the minds of the people.
For us, as a body, we have tried our best to advocate for a change in the security architecture of Nigeria. Unfortunately, with politics bedeviling everywhere, with a docile and most unfortunate National Assembly that we are unable to move forward. Let me make it clear that the National Assembly has the responsibility to the Nigerian people, not to their political parties. They have a responsibility, so when they keep playing politics, instead of looking after the lives of Nigerians and making laws that would benefit and solve the country's problems, they run to Aso Rock to go and meet the president, to go and hear his views instead of making laws that will benefit Nigeria.
The chairman, Human and Constitutional Rights Committee, African Bar Association, Sonny Ekowosi, said the insecurity in Nigeria has gone beyond the government, that we can't continue to wait for the government to improve the security issues in the country. That is why they have come together to make sure that Nigeria is free from violence.
Security in Nigeria transcends government in the sense that government, we have been expecting government to improve the situation. It has not improved. So this is what we are doing today. The African Bar Association is intervening to ensure that the whole continent is free from violence, especially Nigeria. So all stakeholders ought to come in. All hands should be on deck.
The conference focused on the legal boundaries of counter-terrorism operations, implications for human rights and humanitarian law, as well as conducting safe and legal security operations. Uyime Afia, Plus TV News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo today met with Lagos APC delegates, apparently to woo them and solicit their support ahead of the party's presidential primary election. The delegates in their thousands thronged the Yard 158 premises along Kudirat Abiola Way in Oregon to welcome the Vice President Osinbajo. The reports.
It was another long wait, but that did not deter these APC faithful and delegates from enduring the wait to receive their candidate, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. For over 12 hours, the delegates waited, and finally he arrived, thrilling the people to some Thanksgiving songs and a message of hope.
I'm home in Lagos to celebrate. I'm home to thank God for all that He has done and that what He will yet do. I'm not here for a campaign. I'm not here for a consultation. I'm just home to celebrate with my and sisters of Lagos State. But I want to say to you that we have just ahead of us a new Nigeria. And I'm completely certain that God helping us, we will get to that new Nigeria.
One mission: to seek their support ahead of the forthcoming primary elections of the party.
We'll begin on Sunday with the primaries. And I know that we will have massive support from all of our delegates. I'm completely convinced about that because everybody wants a new Nigeria. We want a Nigeria that is secure. We want a Nigeria where there will be hope, where there will be enough employment for our young people. We want a Nigeria that has a secure economy. We want a Nigeria where young men and women will have ambitions and fulfill their ambitions here in this country. And I'm sure that we can achieve that.
He told the delegates to choose someone with experience. In high spirits, VP Osinbajo assured the delegates that victory was already knocking at his door.
God does not make a mistake. The reason why God must have given me those experiences, why He has allowed me to serve for 7 years so far, and I will still serve for another year by the grace of God, is because a time will come when our country will need new leadership. That is the reason why God gave me all that experience and all that knowledge. And that time has come. It is time now. The time has come.
He enjoined the delegates to demonstrate their support on Sunday by turning up en masse for the primaries. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
In very recent times, the Southeast has been plagued with all sorts of mayhems. The terrible nature of these crimes are unmentionable. As if arson, kidnappings, rapes, and molestation of innocent people are not enough, the sheer insensitivity is alarming, as no one has been held culpable for these crimes. It is with this in mind that the Southeast South-South professionals of Nigeria have come together to fashion out a way to come out of these troubling times. While the SESSPN commiserates with the loved ones left behind to mourn their irreplaceable loss, they've also appealed to the individuals involved in this unspeakable art to stop forthwith, as freedom and progress are never achieved by terror and intimidation.
It is with deep sadness, shock, and awe that the Southeast South-South professionals of Nigeria have continued to watch the unfolding anarchy being unleashed in the eastern part of Nigeria by armed criminal gangs seeking to achieve what no right-thinking mind can decipher. The terrible nature of the crimes in outright killings and beheading of innocent people, predominantly of the Southeast, is not only unfortunate, but cause for deep concern. As if arson, kidnapping, rape, and molestation of innocent citizens were not enough, These angels of darkness and despair are continued to carry on unchecked and have become a law unto themselves, such that the eastern part of Nigeria have become very famous for bad news and serious criminality. We appeal to the individuals involved in these crimes and those sponsoring and encouraging them to stop forthwith. Freedom and progress is never achieved by terror and intimidation. Let peace reign in the once peaceful and prosperous eastern Nigeria.
And Ondo State High Court sitting has sentenced Stella Akibabola and Adeobi Matthew Opeyemi to 7 years and 5 years in prison, respectively. They were convicted for forcible entry and conspiracy to commit a felony. The convicts were dragged to court by the police for unlawful invasion of land in Ondo town. The trial judge, Justice Williams Rotimi Olamide, convicted the duo while he discharged and acquitted the third defendant, Ojokpa Utokpe.
And it was a very tough one, but we've been able to come to the end of it today. And those who were found guilty by the court have been sentenced accordingly. I know for me, all we have achieved is to restore peace to Ondo Kingdom. That is all. Because this issue of land grabbing has become another thing in Ondo Kingdom. People dispossessing rightful owners of land and all that through criminality. And that's what we have done today. And we are grateful to the court.
It is possible they win, but in this case, justice was delivered. Justice was delivered for dedicated to the poor people that own their land in Ondo. The case that brought us to this place is the case of somebody who said her father has 6,700 acres of land in Ondo. I say, what is the size of Ondo? He said, one person. And he began to bulldoze people and oppressing them, took them to Alagba. Even they organized to shoot gun at me. Police came from SARS and SWAT on trumped charges against me over land matter because I'm pursuing this case. But I'm happy today justice is delivered. The person have no land. They still went to the point of forging, inducing, or luring, like the judge said, the judicial officer to give possession to somebody that have no land.
Moving on, the Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned further proceedings in the case against Nnamdi Kanu from Thursday, 26th of May to 28th of June 2022. This means that the planned sit-at-home order for Thursday will no longer hold in the southeast. IPOB's lead counsel, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, disclosed this today in a statement. Ejiofor said that the reason for the adjournment was due to the fact that His Lordship Justice Binta Nyako was indisposed. As Nigeria prepares for another round of elections in 2023, citizens have continued to express their views on what their expectations are. That's on Straight Views.
Well, basically, at the moment, the situation in town, the situation of the country, determines the wave of how election goes. The government of the day are so much messed up, and even the blind and the deaf in the society can tell. So for 2023, I believe that it's going to be about the corporate need of the society beyond individualisms. Because if we don't get it right this time as a corporate society, we cannot get it out again. So basically, the performance of the present government will determine the result of this 2023 election.
Hopefully, I'm expecting the power to change from the ruling party to the other party, which is PDP, because I think everywhere corner of the country, they are tired of the ruling party, which is the APC, because instead of things to like being stabilized in a way, it's getting too hard for people to, so people can't bear it anymore. That's my views on it.
Yes, we've been hearing that too, but people are tired of suffering. So I believe people will come out to vote for their choice. That will really make peace. Because imposing people on party members have always brought menace to our society. When people vote for their right choice and the right choice wins, it brings peace to the world. So I believe at this election, people will vote for their right choice.
Still ahead, 1 killed, 3 wounded in missile strikes on Zaporizhia. Details when we return.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment on winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Moving to other parts of Africa, today, the 25th of May, the continent celebrates Africa Day, which marks the anniversary of the signing of the Organization of African Unity Agreement, which evolved into the present-day African Union. On that day in 1963, leaders of 30 of the 32 independent African states signed the founding charter of the organization in Addis Ababa. Since then, the commemoration of the historic day by Africans at home and in diaspora has served as an opportunity for each country to organize events in order to promote the rapprochement between African people. Joining us live via Zoom from London is Paul Ejime, a global affairs analyst. Glad to have you, Mr. Ejime.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olamide.
Okay. Now, this year's theme is centered on strengthening resilience in nutrition and food security on the African continent. Now, this is apt because the war in Ukraine over the past 2 months is already severely affecting the continent with their impact on food prices. What's the way forward?
So we have to really understand the context before we begin to talk about the way forward. You know, this war is just 3 months. So this is not Africa's problem. Did not start, you know, a year ago or 2 years ago. So it is question of leadership that is lacking. Because in your intro, you talked about the founding fathers of the OAU, 1963, and talked about, then it was 30 countries, now it's about 55 countries. That is good news. There is, you know, decolonization, liberation, if you like, and a struggle against apartheid and all that. But beyond that, the potential that Africa has not been harnessed. It hasn't been tapped. Resources are being exploited and, you know, explored and taken out of the country. The leaders are part of it. They are stealing from the continent and then we're housing the looting. That's another name, looting, and then we're housing them in foreign countries. And everybody's talking about Ukraine or Russia. But, you know, this is just 3 months. Africa has had, you know, wars and conflicts that's been raging for years. What has happened to them? You know, so I think this bad leadership or bad governance is not helping Africa, and they shouldn't be. Otherwise, if Africa was, if the leaders were doing their job, they don't have the reason to begin to worry about what happens in Europe, how many thousands of kilometers away. You have land, you have the resources, you have gold, name them, diamond, you know, everything. that you should harness. And then God has, given you those resources. You should explore them, and for the benefit of your people, not for individuals, because that is what the problem is. That is why Africa is now going with bowl in hand and begging and hoping that, going to import cereal from Russia or from Ukraine. Don't you have land in arable lands in Africa? What has happened to agriculture? So it is that, institutional decay and corruption, bad leadership, and then leadership without vision that has caused Africa and put Africa where it is. And unless and until we will have leaders that can move out of this, put on their thinking cap, I think, there is no Uhuru. Probably many countries being having political independence without economic independence.
All right, Mr. Paul. Also top on the agenda is the escalated tensions and competition among China, Russia, and the United States and their non-African allies. Now, do you think this will impede Africa's democratization?
Well, when you do not, you leave your house, without doing the necessary house cleaning, it becomes dirty. Flies will come. All manner of people will come. So they have seen that there is resources in Africa, and they have seen that Africa hasn't got leaders. They have seen that Africa, even though it has the resources, it does not have that critical mass of those who will now bring them together, mobilize them to benefit from the resources. That's why everybody is coming. Otherwise, why are they coming? If they don't see anything to benefit from, they will not come. But how come that Africans themselves are blind to the fact that others are now coming to exploit and pillage what they have on the continent? It's a sad story, unfortunately, but that is the situation. And I hope, I don't know if you pray, what prayer can do, but prayer without work is it doesn't help. So leadership, that is the key. From national to the regional to continental. You find the AU chairman going to Europe to go and make peace. When at home, there is fire. In Casamance, where the southern region of Senegal, where the chairman, Sall, comes from, chairman of AU, there is war. It's been on for years. And even in Ethiopia that hosts AU, there has been the problem of Tigray. And is it Mali? Is it Guinea? Is it Burkina Faso? Is it Libya? Is it Somalia?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contributions, Mr. Paul. Thank you very much.
Conflict, wars, and diseases, corruption. And that is not what, I think that narrative has to change. And
thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Thank you very much for your contributions tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Up next, key players in cosmetics manufacturing seek to adjust the system. That's in business news after the short break.
Welcome to Business News. At least 51.3 million unique telecommunication devices may not have national identification numbers. According to the Nigerian Communication Commission document titled Deployment of a Device Management System Project Information Memorandum, Nigeria had about 132 million unique devices connected to telecommunication networks in 2020. It said with more than 200 million active lines of the Nigerian telecommunication network, there is a greater potential for the development of a DMS in the Nigerian market. The Nigerian Identity Management Commission enrollment dashboard for April 2022 showed 80.7 million people had the NINS as of April the 23rd, 2022. This leaves 51.3 million device owners without NINS. For Nigeria to go far with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, there's need for a central registration in order to have an exit point for products coming from the country. This was the position of a former Director General of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, John Nsimede, on the sidelines of a town hall meeting for beauty products and manufacturers. Justin Akadonye has more.
The global market size of cosmetics industry is projected to reach $463.5 billion by 2027, resulting in a compound annual growth rate of 5.3% from 2021 to 2027. With so much potentials in the sector, how far is Nigeria playing in it? At this town hall meeting, the essence is to break the barriers of micro, small and medium-scale enterprises in the industry for enhanced production capacity, sales and export in the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and beyond. UNIDO consultant and former NASIMA DG, John Nsimede, speaks of lack of communication and coordination as players are operating in silos. In his presentation, business promoter Kolawe says, with the current economic situation, MSMEs contribute over 50% of employment generation in the country. He speaks on the essence of the workshop and how players can penetrate not just within the local market, but internationally.
The situation we have found ourselves, for us to fly looking at the Africa Continental Free Trade, there must be a central registration, so that we have an exit point. This is product coming from Nigeria.
Actual implementation of AFCTA in Nigeria has not taken place, and that's why we want to take advantage of it. Preparing the people, preparing the companies, preparing the product for the AFCTA. We're also going to leverage on our support on our relationship with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. We'll be working with them to ensure that cosmetics products are mainstream into those markets through the export trade houses. So we're not working as an individual, we're working in collaboration with a lot of government agencies. The missing link is that structure process. They encapsulate from the beginning to the end.
Some of the local cosmetic manufacturers believe that players have what it takes to compete internationally, while urging that Nigerians make the most of the natural resources abound. They also talk of ways government can support in terms of incentives.
We have what it takes. We have the natural resources in abundance. And there's so many other countries around us taking advantage of that. We are not. We should be the home for cosmetics.
Nigeria has over 50 million MSMEs, and less than 2% constitutes the medium and large industry. Above all, the need to leverage on this booming sector cannot be overemphasized. Justin Akadonye, Plus TV News, Lagos.
The National Health Insurance Authority Act 2022 does not include telecom tax as part of the funding sources targeted in financing the Vulnerable Group Fund. Contrary to widespread view that the 2022 Act recommends a telecommunication tax of not less than 1 kobo per second of GSM calls, which was being considered by the National Assembly in the National Health Insurance Bill, the fund will now come from other sources. The fund is aimed at subsidizing healthcare services for about 83 million poor Nigerians. The sources for the fund include the Basic Healthcare Fund to the National Health Insurance Authority, Health Insurance Levy, and a Special Intervention Fund allocated by the government. It also includes grant, donation, gifts, and other voluntary contribution. Ibrahim Olorigbe, chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, had said the initial proposal of 1 kobo per second telecom tax to fund the Vulnerable Group Fund was rejected and removed before it was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. The president signed the bill into law last Thursday, which repeals the National Health Insurance Scheme Act 2004. And that's it on Business News. Many thanks for watching. I am Messi Abokwo. The news continues.
Up next is entertainment news.
Actor Morgan Freeman has been named in a list released by the Russian government of more than 900 Americans who have been banned from entering the country amid accusations of being anti-Russian. Freeman's name is believed to be included in the A-list Freeman's name is believed to be included on the list due to his role in the creation of a video concerning the Russian government's involvement in the United States 2016 presidential election. Freeman directed and narrated the clip, which was released in 2017 and also featured fellow actor Rob Reiner, who was also included on the ban list. Ellen DeGeneres' career pause will begin with a luxury African vacation as she embarks on the next chapter of her career with the final episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show, airing in late May. The talk show host and her wife are now planning to head overseas with some of their close friends. Ellen, who began hosting the talk show in 2003, is set to open the Ellen DeGeneres campus of the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. Nigerian singer Wizkid has topped the 2022 Headies list with 10 nominations. Wizkid bags nominations in Male Artist of the Year, African Artist of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Music Video, Best Collaboration categories, Best Recording, Best R&B Single, Best Afrobeat Album, Album of the Year, and Viewer's Choice. Fans have taken to Twitter to celebrate the Essence crooner on his groundbreaking feats. Cheka slammed the Headies for once again snubbing him for not nominating him in the hip-hop category. Tweeting about this, he said, "Another year and the Headies fails to recognize my music in the rap category, while melodic rappers like Dirk and Roddy are idolized in the rap scene worldwide. That's why hip-hop has remained stagnant here." Chek is one of the few Nigerian rappers whose songs are full of melody. He was also one of the few rappers in 2020 to record a hit song with a hip-hop record.
And the main news again. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo today met with delegates in Lagos. Peter Obi has withdrawn from presidential race, resigned from the PDP. APC has released revised timetable for its primary elections. Court has again adjourned Kanu's case to June 28th. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Olamide Adeyemi. Many thanks for watching.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card